uniqueness is not an abstraction. It is measured in years of lost development, in school doors that did not open, in opportunities that quietly closed. So we're here today to see how we can change and show up differently. Autism spectrum disorder remains one of the most underdiagnosed and most misunderstood conditions in our country. Our clinical infrastructure for early screening is thin. The frameworks for inclusive learning in our schools are even more thin. And the financial and emotional burden on caregivers, overwhelmingly borne by mothers, I might add, is immense. These are not failures of compassion, rather, they are failures as caregiver support. We will examine how public and private capital can be mobilized and aligned to build specialized healthcare and education infrastructure that this course demands. The deliverable from this room would be a policy brief that we intend to carry forward into the relevant ministries. Will only be as strong as the honesty and rigor we bring into this room today. At the Alternative Bank, our corporate social investment agenda is guided by a conviction that finance must serve more than transactions. We are just more than a bank. We must serve transformation, and transformation is not only in the financial industry. So we see this roundtable as the beginning of a structured, measurable, long-term commitment to the neurodiversity community in Nigeria. And I think, let me just be specific about some of the things we have done, so it doesn't just look like we just invited people to talk. Words without action are precisely the pattern we are trying to break. This Sunday, on the 26th of April, in partnership with Eliakim Global Resources, we will commence a structured capacity building program on receptive language disorder. It is an intensive hands-on course delivered over 4 sessions, and every participant who completes it will be issued a certificate in receptive language disorder intervention by the Continuing Professional Development CPD group in the UK and Eliakim Global Intervention Services, in conjunction also with Ameish Therapy Training. And we chose to begin there deliberately because receptive language, which is the ability to understand what is being said, is one of the earliest and most consequential developmental markers, and one of the most commonly missed. That training will be the first in a broader intervention agenda built on 3 pillars. The first will be inclusive education. No child, and I repeat that, should be locked out of learning simply because our classrooms were not designed with them in mind. The second is targeted training for caregivers and health professionals, because any recognition and sustained support depend on a workforce that knows exactly what to look out for and what to do next. And the third is the behavioral change advocacy campaign, because awareness without a shift in attitudes changes very little on the ground. Together, these pillars are how we intend to translate today's dialogue into lived, measurable outcomes. So, I invite you, whether you're a policymaker, clinician, an educator, caregiver, an advocate, or a financier, to speak clearly today. Bring your evidence. Bring your frustrations. And above all, bring your solutions. Remembering that alternative is about having a specialist experience. Because in the end, it is really how we show up. Not just in April, not just while the cameras are here, but in the quiet months when stories are quieted that will bring about the change we are all advocating for. Please let us show up well today and let us keep showing up long after we leave this. Thank you very much for coming and on time. Thank you very much. And I wish all of us happy celebrations. Thank you.
Taking care of other company activities. And it's a delight to stand before you this morning, doing something that I think is important to all of us. Because if we're not affected in one way, we know someone or we're related to the challenge called autism. And so this morning, it's a distinct privilege to join this high-level engagement on behalf of the Private Sector Health Alliance of Nigeria. I commend Alternative Bank, who has convened this dialogue, policy dialogue, at such a time as this. This is a critical moment for all of us, and I think it's important that we move beyond dialogue towards a coordinated action, because children and families affected by autism cannot afford to have further delays. At Patient, we believe that every Nigerian deserves access to quality health care, and that includes the neurodivergent community for which autism is part of. We must embed autism care into national health insurance, strengthen early intervention through our primary health care centers. Our Patient currently is investing in the flagship project, the Adopted Primary Healthcare Facility Project, where our aim is to provide world-class service in one primary health care center in every local government in Nigeria. We currently have 215 of those primary health care centers adopted. We have 100 that will be active by the end of the year. 60 are currently active. And on a daily basis, we get calls for collaboration. And we know that together at the primary health care level, if we can increase diagnosis for autism, we can address more significantly at the grassroots this challenge that lives with us on a daily basis. Some of these families will never make their way to secondary healthcare facilities. Some of them will probably never get to tertiary healthcare facility. But if at the primary healthcare level, we can take care of the spectrum of autism, we can deal with 80% of the problem in a more cost-effective, sustainable, and scalable manner. So tonight, or this morning, let us leave this room with more than commitments. Let us leave with clear ownership. Let us live with timelines and resources attached to each of the 4 priority areas that this dialogue centers on, which is awareness and policy, early diagnosis, caregiver support, and financing. The Private Sector Health Alliance of Nigeria is committed to doing its part. Together we can build a system where no child is left behind simply because they experience the world differently. Thank you so much, and have a fruitful dialogue.
Thank you so much to our partners, Patient, for all they're doing within the health space. So we're going to pick the second goodwill message.
It is such a privilege to join you all today. Of course, I want to start just by recognizing the Alternative Bank alongside the Private Sector Health Alliance of Nigeria for convening such an important dialogue and bringing together cross-sector leadership on autism inclusion. At Best Buddies International, as was just stated, our mission is to create opportunities for friendship, for leadership, and employment for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and that includes autism. We currently do this across 45 countries globally, including here in Africa and Nigeria, of course, Kenya, Tanzania, Ghana, and Uganda. Across all these contexts, every constellation, it requires alignment across education, healthcare, and policy, along with early and consistent support for individuals and families, and stronger collaboration across sectors. And that's why this dialogue is so important today. Sometimes we can risk overlooking something really, really critical, and that's the role of the individual and the leadership of people with disabilities themselves. At Best Buddies, we see every day that inclusion is strongest when it is shaped by those that it is intended to serve. So with the permission of this person, I want to share a very brief reflection from a Best Buddies participant, Jack Mayer, on his experience. Josie didn't care that I had autism, he says. She didn't care that I rocked or I tapped. She found out what I liked and what I disliked. Josie talked with me, not to me. She listened. She actually listened. She took the time to get to know me, the real me, and she made me feel like I mattered to someone other than my family. Josie actually helped me launch my speaking career. She gave me something priceless, something I desperately needed, her true friendship. So I just share that perspective because I think that the perspective of those that we serve should be at the center of how we design systems and not on the margin of them. Expectations shift and families become more engaged. These are the practical entry points into broader systems change. We've also seen the importance, as a few of the speakers this morning also touched on, the importance of engaging the private sector as active partners, not just through investment, but through employment. It's about whether people truly feel part of their communities and are supported to lead self-determined lives. So it is such a privilege for Best Buddies International to be part of this conversation. I really thank you for being able to join you all virtually from the US today. I'm really proud to be part of this conversation, and we look forward to working together to advance inclusive systems in Nigeria. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Emma.
Good morning, everyone. Alternative bank, I don't know what to say. When I stand on places like this, it gives me goosebumps. When we are being recognized and we are being spoken of, and our children are being supported, it's something that blows me away. And that is because 27 years ago, when my son was born, I didn't know this is what I'll be doing. I was a banker, just like I was working in banker. My life changed, the life of my son. And it changed because after single-handedly supporting him in his own environment, with no support in terms of specialists. The specialists did not exist when we started at that time, in 2000. Centers were not available. All the centers that had everybody in it, visually impaired, the physically impaired, everybody in one room. And I knew deep down that this young man that spoke at 18 months and then went on to be a doctor of mathematics. Something that there was no way it could just have been in the whole of Nigeria. People were not talking about it. Many families had children with autism. Because of the stigma and the myth surrounding autism, many of them did not bring their children out. And today, what we are seeing with those children that were not brought out, or those that did well, and the parents never mentioned that they had a challenge. We are now dealing with anxiety, we are dealing with self-doubt, we are dealing with low self-esteem in those individuals, and then we are now going back to the psychiatrists and the psychologists to address those issues that we should have addressed when we were young. I remember when I started to speak about it, Amaka, God bless you, she was one of the people in our team. We used to sit down and banter. What are we doing? What should we be doing? And I'm glad that you have gotten to this stage. God bless you. And thank you, Alternative Bank, for holding her hand. She's an amazing human being. And I must say that when we came out, they said, oh, Tosun, you are a Yoruba girl. Don't wash your dirty linen in public. I said, this one is already washed. We are trying it now. So let's see how we can make it better for others. You can imagine what has happened since that time. The people that have been trained, the parents that had the courage. I know you all know impossibility is a myth. Kanye Chukwu that arrived, that rode from the east. The mother said to me, this is Akode, when I look at you, no, that is just for you to give. When I look at you, I wonder what more I can achieve with my child. That is the story that we never tell. So I encourage parents, don't look at what the neighbor is saying. Focus on what you need to do. We are here for a purpose. We are all standing here because God has a message that we all carry. And in that message, if we sit down and cover it, many people will not be where they are today. During the time of the opening in Patrick's 20 years ago, there was a young man that came to that opening, and by the time he had his first child, the child was on the autism spectrum, had the second child, the child was on the autism spectrum. But because he came for that opening and he was able to understand the signs, he was able to intervene early. So Christian, I applaud you for going so low to the primary healthcare center. Shalakwe and I have done extended work with local government agencies in Lagos. We've gone as far as Abeokuta to go and look for these families. And as you can see from the documentary that was put up, you can see that it is the grandmother that is taking care of the child. And that is because of the stigma. You heard what she said. The marriage broke up because it's not from my side, though, it's from your side, though. We are trading blame. And because that woman needs to go back to make a living, she dropped her child with the grandmother. We saw a lot of that in Abeokuta. Many of the children that we saw were being brought up by their grandparents because the family unit has split into different angles. So thank you everybody for coming today. Thank you, ma'am, for giving us the opportunity to do this. I'm going to run through it. I don't know, I think they said I have 15 minutes. I can talk from now till kingdom comes. So please, if I'm shooting Mr. Solomon, if I'm going overboard, just wink. Check, check. All right, so I'm going, and I'm very glad that we chose a very good topic where we need to sit down and dialogue and look at things that we need to talk about. And I particularly liked your speech, man, where you said it's not about the cameras, it's not about April, which is Autism Awareness Month, it's going beyond. Because after all the, and you said something very pertinent that I love so much. It is not a conference. It's not a showman. People are now coming up with different conferences, coming together to do conference, bringing them. It goes beyond that. I have Faisal's mom here. She's working in the community, in her own area. Faisal's mom with Faisal, her life changed. How did her life change? She came for training. And then she started to see her daughter emerge. Faisal was about 19 or 20 when you came for that training. That was when she saw that the light. We are never late. We just encourage any intervention. So I'll go straight to this, and I'm going to talk through it so that you don't feel like I'm lecturing you. We're going to kind of analyze it, and it's very pictorial, so that way you can go along with me. So we are saying from silence to potential. And I came up with the story of the young boy that was brought to us, and in 18 months, his life changed. 3-year-old brought to us, non-verbal, was not socially engaging, was labeled stubborn or lazy. I can see one of my staff here. We had an argument yesterday about laziness. Don't call my children lazy. There's more to it. After 18 months of early intervention, speech therapy,
and structured support. Structured support. And structured support is important because I think I'm blocking the view of some people. Can you see? You can see. Okay. Structured support is important because many times when we are trained from the abroad. We need to bring it back here. We need to dissect it. We need to add our cultural connotations to it. And our culture is so rich and so beautiful that parents are beginning to bring their children back for 2 years. Making it, and then the difference is like boom. And that is because of the communal structure that we have in Nigeria and the no grief for anybody. So the behavior we have, we don't allow our children. We will not say no, you can't do it. Say you can do it. Let's try. You can do it. If the child is crying, they are still saying, "Don't worry, you can do it." That is who we are as Nigerians, and we must appreciate what we have and what we bring to the table. And what happened with him was that he developed functional communication. You can see here that I did not say he developed speech. Functional communication. And that is what Eliakim is bringing to the table by introducing the training for receptive language skills. Once the child is receptive, you would have functional communication. As the non-verbal language that we carry is 97%. What we say is only 3%. So if I say, "Good morning, ma'am," I really say good morning to you. Those are the things that our children see. So when they run to someone, you know why. They can read the non-verbal language that the individual carries. Then it transitioned into mainstream school. The mainstream school must also be a school that embraces inclusion. And it began to form peer relationships. Peer relationship is what Best Buddies is talking about. And trust me, Best Buddies is not only for the child on the spectrum, it's actually for the child, the neurotypical child as well. Because what that young person with autism or with any developmental disability or delay would do to the neurotypical person is to teach empathy, patience, love, and acceptance. And that is very vital. So the issue is never what the child, the issue was never the child, it was late diagnosis and the absence of systems. We don't have systems in Nigeria, unfortunately. We don't do collaboration. Me, myself, and I must grab it all and hold on to it. It doesn't pay. That's why today in this room, I know almost everybody that is in this place. I love to collaborate. I can't do it alone. And I don't say I can do it alone. I love to take that on. Next slide. Then autism in Nigeria. It's in there. It's not a family problem, it's a system failure. And that's where Christian has come in. To go low. When we started the autism conference, I know many of you know that I was a very big part of that autism conference. And when we started it, and we started arguing with the doctors. You know, doctors, they used to tell me, this is about we spent 7 years in medical school. What do you know? I said, I've spent 15 years with my son. I know. I know. And we're always arguing, and we're always joking, and we're always laughing. And so I tell him, I know, because I'm the mom. How long have you spent with him? I'm with him 24/7. I can tell you for free why he's behaving that way. And one thing we must always know that before you see behavior, there's a background to it. If a child's sensory system is intact and the communication system is intact, you will not see behavioral challenges. So those are the backtracks that you need to build before you now start to build behavioral challenges in the child. What we need is a systemic change all over the nation. And we are very religious in Nigeria. It is not my portion. I reject it in Jesus' name. I'm not the one that is part of it. And then now we are seeing even the ones that we run to, the churches, selling off our children to be married off because he has one thing or the other. So we were very quick to intervene to tell the pastor that, Pastor, come, if you have money, bring it. We can use it to do other things in this community, not buying houses and cars for men and women that we want to marry our children onto. Autism is often treated as a private. Yes, thank you. Yes. Thank you. Autism is often treated as a private burden. But at Patrick's, we see it as families are left to navigate the diagnosis alone. That is why we go into the community to say you are not alone. We will hold your hand. Therapy is out of pocket. At Patrick's, I say it loud and clear, therapy is not cheap. We have 53 children, we have over 45 members of staff. So you can imagine what we're doing. Our fees are not cheap. But because we understand that this is not affordable, we look for partners all over the world. We have people that pay for students from UAE, from the US, to attend Patrick's. So for every 3 children we have, 1 must be free. That is our policy. We started that 20 years ago. It's still ongoing up to today. Schools are unequipped, and I must speak to schools here. Many schools charge our children double. When they go into the mainstream school, they are charged 2 times the fees, and they do not provide the service. Inclusion is they play lip service to inclusion. They are not truly feeding inclusion in the community. So the reality, autism in Nigeria reflects system fragmentation, not rarity. It's not scarce, it's fragmented. We are working in isolation. And now we have many more people in the field because some of us will not keep quiet and we will continue to say we want a systemic change. It's not a family failure, it's the system that needs to change. Now, this year, thankfully, we are celebrating our 20 years anniversary. And we can tell you for free that therapy alone is not enough. It's not enough. Individual intervention, national system design, isolated centers. We are isolated. And I must say, like I tell my staff all the time, Patrick's is not forever. The world is changing from exclusion into inclusion. So even we are fading out systematically some of the work we do to go into the schools, to support the schools, to build that inclusiveness that we speak about. This year, we are planning to partner with Elclan in the UK to set up speech units, speech training facilities to support the school system. We pray that works out. It's going to be an expensive venture and the schools must be ready to take it on if they are really serious about inclusion. Charity. We must shift from charity. So this is shifting from isolated centers to integrated core pathways. Those are some of the pathways that we put in place. We must shift from charity to structured, scalable solutions because everybody feels that I can be helped. I'll give an example of late intervention that we had at Patrick's. The man came to us at 38, a big man, 38. The mother came to my doorstep. She was at her ends with it. She had gone everywhere, done everything, and nothing happened. Came to us at 38. I said to her, I said, Madam, I've never had this stage before, but I will support you and try to hold your hand and see what we can do. All the intervention practices that we know and understand failed. Do you know why? Because the individual, the man himself, knew the way he wanted to be taught. And if we did not follow that path, we would miss it. So the first thing we were able to do successfully was to build attention. And to build attention, we would need to call him from time to time. Sheol, come and do this, Sheol. And everybody was shouting, Sheol, Sheol, and he would stand his ground. Until one day, I said to them, just by chance, guys, all you young people, this guy is older than you. Why don't you call him Uncle Sheol? And the minute they changed the way they addressed him, everything changed. Uncle Sheol, then he will look at you and smile. You guys are beginning to understand where I'm coming from. So those are systems that we need to put in place to support these individuals. If you go with your intellectual sense into the classroom with a child with autism, my darling, you have missed the way. You must allow the child to lead. Without that leading, you will not be able to reach that child. Without that child trusting you completely, you will not be able to reach that child. So, from intervention to system thinking, we need to go back and redesign some of the things that we have learned in the past. And when we are doing charity, just like I said to you that we have to support families and parents. When we are doing charity, it has to be structured and it has to be a scalable solution. We allow the parents to partner with us. We are charity, but when you are coming, please can you bring 2 rows of toilet roll to the center so that it will not be like we are doing charity work. You are also investing in that child, and that helps and goes a long way. Okay. There's a gap. My sister said that from patient. At PSLC, most of them arrive between the ages of 5 and 8. So you can see, I told you that the 35 came. Today, he's still at the center. He has reached his peak. What changed from that 35-year-old? First, they noticed in the church that he was no longer rocking. They noticed at home that whenever he has his lunch and throws his plate into the sink, the mother came to me and said, Mrs. Akonde, he doesn't do anything in the house. I said, why? I said, because he's not talking. I said, don't talking does not mean not thinking. If he puts his plate in the sink and he likes food, when it's time for lunch, when he comes to you, tell him that he has to wash the plate before he gets his food. Today he's the one that cleans the whole house, makes sure that the doors are all locked before he goes to bed. And that is because you have put something in his mind, in his life, in his intellectual capacity. That being said, if probably we had Sheol at 3, you can imagine what would have happened. You can imagine. Not all children will get to where we want them to be, but all children can learn. Finding what they truly love and enjoy and using that as a tool. So you see, at 3, the child is still in diapers. Why? Because he's not speaking. He's not allowed. Treat him like every other child while understanding his limitations. But it is with the strength that he carries that you will use to build what you are trying to teach. So if this son, God bless you, goes to our primary healthcare center and we have our intervention at an early age, we will not see some of our children that have very strong intellectual capability suffer when they grow up. So early intervention drastically improves outcomes. I started at 2. I didn't stop. I was going, this is a day. He said, boys talk late. Don't worry yourself about it. He will talk. I said, this boy was talking at 18 months. Stop talking. There's something wrong. I said, no. Don't worry, he's a boy. But I didn't stop talking. If I see Auntie Gozi, I said, Auntie Gozi, my son is not talking. No. If I see Auntie Gozi, my son is everybody that I saw. Until one day somebody said, I went to the hospital and the doctor said, Doctor, this thing that is happening to your son is autism. I said, doctor, God bless you. At least I'm satisfied I'm not going crazy. Because it looks like I'm the only one that can see it. Because when I tell people, they say, oh, don't take something bad. You know how we are very superficial. Something bad about yourself so that I said this one is already here. there's no going back. So when I found out and she said that is what it is, I went into action mode immediately. She said there's nothing available in Nigeria, don't bother yourself. Go to the US. I said US. That's my husband. He likes Ebao, he likes Samala. I can't go to the US. And moreover, we couldn't afford it. We had a younger daughter at that time. So she said, okay, let me introduce you to Auntie Grace Bamiboye, another wonderful human being in our field. And she said, Mrs. Akonde, she was coming to my house 3 times a week. I was teaching the boy how to dress. To barb his hair was a problem. He would carry all the shoes in the house, line it up all over the place. He would be rocking. He will not eat. So many things I was dealing with. But at 5, when my son began to emerge, I couldn't keep quiet. All the people that I was saying is not talking, no, I went back. This boy is talking, no, this is what we did. We introduced this. If you have a child, I went to the newspapers. I started writing, talking about it. And then one day, I sat in my bathroom and something, the Holy Spirit said to me, go and open a center. That's what gave birth to Patrick. So you can imagine if I kept quiet. This early intervention drastically improved my son's case. He went from an average student in primary school to an average student in junior secondary school. When he got to senior secondary school, everything changed. He just moved from average to excellent. In fact, he was correcting me the other day when I said, you had A. He said, I didn't have A, no, I had A B. I said, no, sir. At least you have corrected me. Because I'm writing a book. So everything changed. Bullying changed. The people that were bullying him, he was teaching them maths. The teacher would gather them and say, this Agolale that people are laughing. Agolale, come and teach them maths. He was teaching them maths. So you see, that age out because the parents refuse to keep quiet. Brain development, we know there's plasticity in brain development, and it is better before the age of 5 for you to put in whatever you want to put in. I say to anybody, if you have a child and you did not teach that child how to behave by the age of 10, and when he gets to 15, he starts misbehaving, you'll be wondering what happened. You didn't teach him what to do at the age of 5, at the age of 10. By 10, their brain is set. You now have to be dealing with issues. So whatever you want to teach your child, whether it's cultural, whether it's spiritual, whether it's physical, whether it's intellectual, teach it before the child is 10. By 10, it's almost set. Yes, you can improve it as they go along, but please put it in before the age of 10. There's a gap in early diagnosis, and that's because we don't even know where to go. When my son was diagnosed, he was diagnosed by a pediatrician. Today, the psychiatrists are claiming that they are the ones that diagnose our children. And I said to them, hello, psychiatry, that's very scary for a young parent when you tell the parent to go to the psychiatrist. I think that is the developmental pediatrician. We argued it back and forth. Dr. Oshodi, my very good friend, she's now abroad. We used to argue a lot. We used to spend time talking about autism and arguing. We need to know where to go for early intervention, for early diagnosis, and late diagnosis. Listen, please, we need to know where to go, especially for the very young ones and those that came up later. Now there are some that have aged out of the pediatrician. We are saying, where do we go to get a diagnosis? Please, we are available to you. If you need us for anything, we will be there to give you the right direction on where to apply, where we need to be at every point in time. We are many. Nancy is here. My sister Angela is here. We are many in the field, and we're all here. We are going to speak. Caregivers. I also hear the invisible sisters. Parents in Nigeria they function as therapists, advocates, financial provider. I'm sure we have many parents here that can attest to this. We are the therapists, yes. I was my son's occupational therapist for the years that, because it didn't even exist when we started. Occupational therapy started existing around 2008. The first person that graduated in the occupational therapy school came to work with us, and he said during his time in the school he didn't hear anything about autism. It was when he came to the center that he learned everything about autism. Things are changing now. They are now becoming more inclusive. They are the ones that go on the streets every April, parents talking about autism, and we are also the financial providers. I paid for therapy for my son all the time he was in therapy, and so for many Nigerian parents. There is no government support for this. Our experience confirms that caregivers are not beneficiaries, they are the core system actors. We are the actors. We are the actors. And this is often draining. Mentally, we need to go back sometimes to sit down and look at, am I in the right place and am I doing the right thing? Autism is not disturbing your child. Nigeria faces shortage of trained therapists, and that's where I have 5 more minutes. Thank you. We have shortage of trained therapists, uneven distribution of services, and limited professional training pipelines. This is the last one, professional training pipelines. This is what we need to build urgently. Who are those at the beginner's level? Who are those at the intermediate level? Who are those at the professional level? We need to build it. We are trying at Patrick, but there's only so much we can do. We have trained 300 therapists across Nigeria. We have a very strong training school. And like I said to you, I love collaboration. I didn't start the training academy on my own. I involved Auntie Grace, who is a speech and language pathologist in Nigeria, the best, the foremost and the best. I handle self-regulation and sensory dysfunction. We have Bidemi who does behavior. We have the occupational therapist who teaches occupational therapy. So we have a full and functional training academy. We went to the IPCC, International Board of Credentialing and Credits, I can't read, certification, yeah, to get our license. But when I saw that even that license was not enough, I said to get our accreditation to be able to do it functionally and fully in Nigeria. And that's what we have done. Built a local capacity ecosystem, and we're doing that, and we are seeing that. The problem we are having now is that we have therapists in the field, we now need the regulatory body to come in and step in for regulation. So we've done our part, the government is stepping, because we need the people that will deliver care. And this must scale nationally. Okay. The clicker is not clicking. Am I doing something wrong? All right. The cost of inaction, lower educational attainment, reduced workforce participation, and long-term dependency. I will only tell you this is what happens when autism is not treated. The reduced workforce participation, at Patrick's, we employ them. If the world will not employ them, we will employ them. And we pay them. And we pay them minimum wage. We don't joke with it. Whatever skills they can do, one of our young adults, he works with our nannies. He helps with cleaning the center. That's what he can do, and he gets paid for it. His mother is so glad that he has a job. So we are advocating that organizations don't look at our children as not being able to work. One of them came up to me today and said, "I'm been in white coats for a long time. I should be in uniform. It makes me more confident knowing that I'm part of the team." That is beautiful. That is a man that has worked with us for over 4 years, and he feels that at this level over 4 years, I should be upgraded. And I called the head of school and I said to her, "Yes, he's right. We should not look at him as being a trainee anymore. He has attained." Inclusion by design, not retrofitting system. We must globally globally leading countries are not adjusting systems, they are designing them differently. And that's what we must do. Nigeria must embed autism into primary healthcare screening. Listen, I'm coming back to you. Thank you. School systems. I know a lot of us are into and supporting Nancy. Is one of the people that is looking at school systems and managing talent. Workplace policies. Workplace policies is very important because our children, they don't resign. They don't have headache. They come to work at the right time. If you love them and they love your environment, you will have them for life. Inclusion must be intentional and not reactive. Financing. Families bear the cost. Limited insurance coverage. I know Auntie already mentioned that when she said it. Minimal structured funding. We are looking at where we have blended financing, insurance integration, and private sector participation. This is a long-term investment in national productivity, and it must be addressed. Our call to action: government policy, leadership, and national framework, which is what we are doing here today. Healthcare, early diagnosis, and integrative care, which is what we are also talking about today. Private sector long-term financing and innovation, which is what we are also going to be talking about today. And developmental partners. I've seen one body builders that came in, best bodies, okay, yes, that came in as one of the support that we have internationally. And the final message is Nigeria does not lack children with potential. It lacks systems that recognize and develop their potential. This moment demands clarity from every shareholder. This year, to celebrate our 20th anniversary, we have our yearly art exhibition that we run, and to support employment, we have designed a staged musical play that will be played by individuals with special needs. From the choreography to the actors to the musical instrumentalists, we will make sure that at least 80% are actors from our constituency. So thank you. The question we have now is whether Nigeria is ready to make this problem, to make that possibility systematic. Yeah? We need that to move forward in this field. Once again, I'd like to thank the Alternative Bank for taking this on, and we are grateful that you are not only thinking of one day, you are going in deep with everything that you have. God bless you. Thank you to all my colleagues and friends that are here today. God bless you. I appreciate you.
We initially didn't plan for her to take questions, but there are a lot of questions online, and we know that she might be leaving anytime soon. So we'll just take one question online and another question from the group, right? If that's fine. Okay. Awesome. Please, another round of applause for her. So she'll hear all the. So if we're not able to take your question now, we can always take your question later. So the first question is from Nina Kennedy, who joined us online. And she's saying, could you help share some affordable speech therapy programs or sessions for children? She had mentioned that the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital at Oshodi is on strike, so she's not being able to.
Okay, so I would suggest that she moves into. We have a very strong WhatsApp group. It's strong and vibrant, but I would also like her to connect with Amaka for the training that is coming up on the 26th. You see, because we think parents cannot learn. The story of Fraser's mom is amazing. If you have not followed her, follow her online. We think parents cannot learn. Speech therapy is one of the most, how would I put it, hidden, is it hidden or closed? Closed specialists that we have in the world. It's not only in Nigeria. They don't allow people into it. That is why everybody is now moving away from. For us at Patrick's, what we did was that we went to the UK to get them to come and certify our center as a communication-friendly center. It cost us an arm and a leg. They trained us for 2 years for us to be able to attain that. But we were willing to go that route because speech therapists are not available. So she should connect to Amaka and go for this training that we're talking about. That way she would also learn. So if they go on strike from now to kingdom come, they will not be able to support her child. She should go and learn how to do it. I mean, even in the UK now, they've come up with what we call Nancy is here. We spoke about it during our training on Wednesday, where they said that the speech and language therapists assistants. They've now opened it up for people to come up into it because it's not only autism that is affected by speech delay or development. It's most of the developmental challenges that we see all over the place. Autism, cerebral palsy, ADHD, Down syndrome. We see all of that with associated with speech defects or speech challenges. So she should, contact Amaka, or she can contact me directly. I can share. Hamdallah's mom is and yes, she can also share some of the resources that she uses to support her child in the home environment, so she does not rely fully on Oshoji.
Yes. Thank you so much, Ma. So Nena, if you're still online, help is here. There's a lot of support here, so please just reach out. So I'm going to take one more question from the room. So is there anyone? If there's no question, I can quickly just go back. Okay. So there's another question from someone online, and the person said, what models best support families in low-resource environments?
The model is to learn. That is the best model for people that are low-income families. I really don't like to use low-income families, but families that struggle with therapy. And we have a very vibrant WhatsApp group. In that WhatsApp group, every day somebody is there to teach you something. And that WhatsApp group came about because there were many people know that our practice we take families that struggle. So we have a very strong what do we call it? It's scholarship. I say scholarship. We have a very strong scholarship scheme. So many people know and they call themselves go to practice. This is if you cry well, she take your child. So go there, go to this. So after a while, we just would not take anymore. So we created that WhatsApp group. Everybody comes there every day. There's a specialist that comes in. Nutrition is there, speech is there, academics is there, vocation is there, behavior is there. There is no inclusion. Even if your child is in mainstream school that struggling is there. So we have specialists that come in every day, Monday to Friday. That is a lot, that you can tap into to support your child in the different capacity. Because we know that there's a very wide range of needs when it comes to children with special needs. Yeah?
Okay. Thank you so much, Ma. So we have one question here.
Good day, ma'am.
Hello, dear.
I want to ask how we can go about partnering with Patrick's Speech Academy.
Okay, in terms of?
Okay, I work with an organization that supports families that have children on the neurodiverse spectrum. So I'm wondering how we can partner with Patrick's Speech Academy.
In what capacity?
To train the parents.
To train the parents.
Yes.
Just see us. We always have ways in which we do it.
Right.
Currently, we are at. You have a particular area that you reside.
Yes.
Parents in a particular group. Yes.
A lot of the parents are around Beda area.
All right. So we are coming to the mainland sometime this year. I think maybe around August to come and do an outreach there to support families. We are doing Lagos Island in another few months, and then we are going to come down to your area. So I'll take your contact. We can come in and train your parents for you.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
For our speech therapy, we are really very interested about the training. So please do complete the form that is going to be displayed on the screen. And for those of us that are online, it's going to be dropped in the chat box. So like I said, the Alternative Bank is going to be sponsoring 10 people for that training. Please a round of applause for the Alternative Bank. Okay, so press begin time. So without taking more time, before we move to the very first panel of today, we're going to have a goodwill message from Dr. Ime Okon, who is the president of the Medical Women Association of Nigeria. Lagos State. Please a round of applause for her.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. It's not set to break. Good morning, everybody. Let me try and put myself on that level where Madam just left us because she has taken us to a very high plateau. I was feeling very good. A round of applause for her again, please. I am so sorry I came in late. I missed my slots for the goodwill message, so I may have missed an established protocol, but please permit me to rest on the already established protocol. I just had to make it here because the topic we're discussing is so important, and it's a topic that so many people know almost nothing about. So it was very important for me that even while we are having a high level meeting, sorry, I'm a medical director in one of the general hospitals, and all the MDs are there. I just had to sneak out to be here. So apologies once again for coming in late. However, it is a profound honor for me to stand here on behalf of all the female physicians and dental practitioners in Lagos State under the aegis of Medical Women's Association of Nigeria Lagos State Branch at this intentionally curated high-level platform. We commend the Alternative Bank for this visionary initiative. By convening this high-level policy dialogue, you are not merely hosting a meeting, you are catalyzing a long overdue national action on autism inclusion. We find ourselves at a very critical moment where leadership voice matters. While autism is a recognized public health and developmental priority, our progress as a nation has been constrained by fragmented systems and insufficient coordination. Today, we are here to change that narrative. And I stand before you to affirm that the era of fragmented responses to autism must end here. The theme, it is how you show up, resonates deeply with our mission at M1. In the medical community, showing up for autism means moving beyond clinical diagnosis to building inclusive systems, which we have spoken about here, that supports that very support system that supports the entire life cycle of an individual. It means ensuring that early diagnosis is not a luxury, but a standard of care, accessible to every Nigerian child. Alternative Bank, thank you very much because you have done more than organizing a roundtable. You have signaled a shift towards a high-level platform for national action. At M1, we believe that how you show up is a measure of our collective humanity. We are all humans after all. And we should stop the ostrich approach of it does not concern me. It concerns all of us. For a physician, showing up means ensuring that a parent's first concern is met with a strengthened, inclusive system rather than a clinical dead end with no solution. The M1 perspective is how we show up under the theme. It is how you show up. We are committed to advancing inclusive outcomes through three strategic areas. Number one, clinical excellence and early diagnosis. We are strengthening inclusive systems by advocating for early diagnosis as a cornerstone of the care ecosystem. The second pillar, empowering the caregiver. We recognize the caregivers and families as central to the success of any intervention. We are showing up to ensure that they are never left alone to navigate this journey. And the third pillar, policy and sustainable finance. We align with the call for sustainable financing and investment in scalable interventions. Medical expertise must be met with the physical infrastructure to create a lasting change. Our commitment will translate to all of us showing up by leveraging our network in M1 female physicians to advocate for strengthened healthcare systems, caregivers support, and policy advocacy. This is a call to action. No single institution can solve the fragmented system that currently constrains progress. It is our collective responsibility. Let us turn dialogue into impact. Let us recognize that early diagnosis is a right. Sustainable financing is the engine and the caregiver is the core. While rounding up, I want to say that this convening is a critical moment to signal institutional alignment. Let us leave today not just with the rapporteur's reports, but with a shared commitment to measurable outcomes. To the leadership of Alternative Bank, we see you. We recognize your leadership. Please a round of applause for them. To all of us, let us use these 3 minutes, this period rather, as a catalyst for national action. Let us set a tone of shared responsibility. Most importantly, let us ensure that how we show up defines a brighter, more inclusive future for every Nigerian living with autism. M1 Lagos is fully aligned with this. We are here to partner, and most importantly, we are here to hold hands and show up for every family that depends on this, our collective resolve. Thank you very much, and God bless.
In amongst other words, is collective. To get the kind of change that we want, obviously we have to bring the moving parts together. And that brings us straight to our first panel for today. It's titled Understanding the Gaps, Diagnosing Barriers, and Unlocking Strategic Practical Solutions for Autism.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amen. We appreciate the fact that you thought it was so important, even though you had other important things to do in the office. We appreciate you and we look forward to continue to work with you as you came here today. Thank you very much. This is our appreciation award from the Alternative Bank. Please give a round sound of applause to Dr. Ime. Thank you very much. Okay, again, on behalf of the Alternative Bank, this appreciation award is for Dr. Imen Oko. And we thank you and all the other members that attended with you. Thank you very much.
To everyone who is joining us virtually across Nigeria and all over the world. My name is Muewalo Boroko. I'll be moderating this interesting plenary. I think so much has been said earlier by Ms. Lakode. That was a profound presentation, by the way. Thank you so much. And care in Nigeria. I think, like I mentioned earlier, a lot has been said already, and I would not want to belabor the topic. So I would rather give room for the esteemed panel, cut across different community within the healthcare system to address the issue at hand. Let me state what has been said earlier, that this is not a conference. We are not here to have conversation around awareness. Rather, we are to bring to surface the critical barriers that's affecting the entire autism care value chain. So I would really want to just go straight into it. I see one has already been introduced. Charlotte, nice seeing you. And then Dr. Joy, nice meeting you. Manga, the great Oga Gabriel, nice seeing you. And I think we're going to have a very interesting conversation around that. Thank you so much as well. I would just like to go straight to the questions. I think we should not just go around the professional again. And my first question will be going to Shawakwe. And I want to take it from the point of frontline experience. So I would like to ask, what are the most critical barriers preventing early diagnosis and access to care, particularly at the community level? Because I know Ms. Labode mentioned that you guys have been working together at the community level. So let us have an idea of what has been going on there.
Okay. Thank you so much, Maywa. Yes, so like you mentioned, Mr. Akade already touched most of all the barriers. And what I would do is just take them one by one and just really just help you to understand what she was trying to talk about. Okay, so I think the first one she talked about has to do with the lack of awareness and the harmful cultural interpretation that we associate with this. And the way it plays out, a lot of times when we talk about autism awareness and diagnosis, police share a story. They will say, "Oh no, in our family we don't develop on time. In our family we speak late. We do this, we do that." And all of this time that she's going around, she's seeing the signs. It's not that she's not seeing the signs, but she doesn't have a word to attribute to those signs. And so what she's doing is working with the knowledge that she's, and the immediate community is the church, the neighbors, and time wasted. That is a huge barrier that we see in the space of awareness and awareness. Another one is the primary health care. They are not properly equipped for to even diagnose or even to even identify stuff like that, or they even dismiss you're telling them this is what's going on, they dismiss it as overprotective, or you're doing too much. By the time it becomes a real issue.
And again, I must say, well done. That's a great work to do. And learning from someone who has done this 20 something years, I mean, that's a great work. I think next question will go to Dr. Joy. So let's take it from the clinical standpoint. My question to you would be, what are the systemic challenges within Nigeria's healthcare system that delay early diagnosis and effective intervention?
Thank you very much, Miwa. I want to write on what Mrs. Akoni said earlier and to praise Dr. Aluko. She led me on this path in looking at children with autism. So I was a fresh pediatric neurologist, and she said there are a lot of children with this problem. You need to get into this area. And that's just to bring to the fore the challenge I want to talk about, and that is the workforce. We do not have the skill set in our physicians. We don't have. So I was an exco in the child neurology. There's a Child Neurology Society of Nigeria, and serving over 100 million children. We are not up to 200. I'm not joking. And the truth is, at the center of managing autism, I actually think the pediatric neurologist should be at the center. And why? We have these children with comorbidities. Many children don't have autism alone. They have intellectual disability, they have epilepsy, they have issues. And so you need someone who can look at the child holistically and direct how the care is going to be administered. And we don't see that. We're not enough. We're not enough. And so that's a key problem. And I know we're going to still talk about offering solutions, but that is key. There's a huge gap. And then even among the child neurologists, people have their areas of interest. So in these 200, maybe we are 50, maybe we are barely 100 who even are interested in looking at autism. And so that's a huge gap that needs to be attended to very quickly. And there are actually ways around it because this is not unique to Nigeria. I must tell you, I have patients calling from Canada, from the UK, from all over the world saying we can't access care even in the high resource settings because the wait times are too long. So there have to be creative ways for us to get around that. And then not to burden the issues that have already been said. Awareness among doctors as a whole. And the reason is that before you get to seeing a specialist, you would have gone through, a nurse, a community healthcare worker, you would have gone through different stages. And so even among healthcare workers generally, we need to improve awareness. So the awareness Shaggy was talking about is not just for the parents and the caregivers. Even among healthcare staff, we need to let people understand, at least be able to flag a child who is, I think there's a problem here. I may not be able to say exactly what it is, but this child needs to see a specialist. So we need to improve capacity even across the healthcare sector as a whole. So I think I'll just stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I mean, there's one reality that we have come to face as a nation, the fact that we have inadequate manpower when it comes to healthcare in Nigeria. And you look at our ratio of patients to doctor, it's quite alarming. I mean, that's worrisome. Now to talk about a special area as this, and if there were just 200 people, that's scary. That's really troublesome. But I think we'll find a way around this. I believe that the essence of this gathering is to ensure that we come up with policies, look at the direction that it has to all these areas, and then form a framework that will guide national discourse around all of this. Thank you so much, Dr. Joy. I will go to Nemaka next. So my question to you is, what are the major structural gaps within Nigeria's education system in accommodating children on the autism spectrum?
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we have several structural gaps. There's several. And Nigeria has, well, on paper, we have a policy for special education. Parents saying no school is accepted. Right? But on paper, we say we're doing, it's a policy, we have inclusive education. Our inclusive education is determined by the number of schools that accept to run inclusive education. That's what we have. So we have this, we need, okay, I'm not supposed to say what the solutions are, but in the US, you have, for instance, there's this policy, IDEA, okay, Individuals with Disability Education Act. What they do is they enforce that policy and compel schools to provide those accommodations. That is what we need, okay, to bridge that gap. Another structural gap we have is, like Dr. Joy has said, like everyone has said, is extreme, what I would like to see severe shortage, okay, of specialists. Yes, we have Lagos State, kudos to them to a certain level. They have, the public schools have inclusive classes. Let me say, like inclusive class that accepts children with neurodevelopmental challenges, autism, ADHD, in a part of the school. But do they have educational psychologists? Do they have speech therapists? Do they have occupational therapists? It means that even if you go there free, you have to outsource, right? You have to outsource that service to the specialist. And like Dr. Akonde said, it doesn't come cheap. You have to pay, and that is financially draining. And that brings me to the next gap, funding. Now, I was doing some research a couple of years ago, and I know that in our federal budget, right, we say we have, as secondary, it's not the core component. Special education needs doesn't have a budget that is core component that should serve the community we provide services for. So it means that parents will have to resort to crying so that, Mr. Conde will give them scholarship. They have to look for ways, charity organizations come to places like the Alternative Bank, write to anyone to find funding to fund this. Okay, so funding is another big issue, and I think we need to look at it. Also, finally, I want to talk about something very close to my heart, and which is the structural vacuum in the rural communities. We have 36 states of, in Nigeria, and if I'm allowed, it's just Lagos, Port Harcourt, and Abuja that we have a lot of these centers, that we have, doctors and, community workers doing something. What happens to the remaining 33 states? And even in these 3 states that have these solutions, we have rural communities. We went to Agoi some years back to reach out. The first thing they're asking you is Kilafeje. Like, what am I eating? Before you talk about providing help for my child, you're looking at the child. They are looking at the child, right? But they're hungry. And then some of them, they have heard of autism. They've seen social media. Almost everybody has phone, right? But they don't know what to do. So the structural vacuum in rural communities, I think, is something that, thank God, they're going to reach out to local government, primary healthcare services. Maybe from there they move further to finding intervention for those families in those rural communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Namaka. You've touched on 3 strategic areas. Quite a few stuff. Short funding, we talk about gaps, we talk about the lack of inclusion. Even when we say we are factoring inclusion, we are exclusively including people. What you have just said. One thing I also want to say is that empathy function on its own in Nigeria. And it's sad that you focus on major cities or where the care is actually required at grassroots level, and it's I think that's all I get. Those kind of issues, and then we'll address them through this gathering. I think my next question will go to Mr. Griffin. If you at all not well implemented, where do you see the gaps?
Thank you very much. Good morning once again, everyone. Autism child development in Nigeria, the greatest disconnect of seeing the inclusive system is what the inclusiveness is all about, and the people you have on ground, the workforce, to actually enforce it. I'll give you this example. Around 2014, I moved into a school. In that school, they had 2 autistic children. Okay, and the parents were paying heavily. They had the money to pay. And the school took them in the name of, we do inclusive education. These children were not progressing. Okay, because of my own background, with the training I've received from my dear sister, Amaka, immediately, when I got there, I said, no, who were all of you are conventional teachers. You are trained to teach chemistry, physics, biology to the regular students. How about these gifted children? We call them gifted children. Can you connect with them? They cannot. Okay, do you have anyone that is a professional that is connecting with them, connecting with you, and connecting with these children? Nobody. They're just collecting their money.
Okay, so in my everyday line of work, I think I have a few things that I think is very important. I've mentioned one of the barriers being when lack of awareness being one of the major barriers, and when they lack they don't know what to do, they go straight to spiritual places. Those are their community. When you talk about communities, where you live, not, when we talk, we're talking on panels and all of that, but where you live is where you get those practical solutions. And I feel like the first thing should be a community-based parent education. So this parent education is happening in churches, in mosques, in your primary health care centers, when they come for antenatal, when they come for postnatal, when they come for even well kid checkup. That is where, even in your in the local government, there should be a desk where something is happening. This is where they come to. This is where they get the first information that they need. That primary information, the primary health care, That's where they get all those things. So that's a practical way. Then the other one will be parent-led support network. I, as a parent, I have lived experience. Another parent has lived experience. When someone has gotten an information, this is what's going on. When she knows that she's not alone, he is not alone, it makes the information you are passing easier to digest. Because then they know that, okay, you are not alone. Oh, I have heard Dr. Akonde's story. Our child is now a professor. Oh, interesting. That means there's hope. That means that what you are giving me, the practical solution you are providing right now, can work. And so my buy-in there is automatic. So another one will be school-based early screening partnership. Because again, she said something. She said schools, they bring the children to a school from 5. Because that is when children come to school. They are of school age from 5. So if as they're coming into school, there's a school system that says we do early screening. So every child from ages 5 to 8, they're doing early screening, and then they're able to pick up on those missed diagnoses. So maybe the market woman cannot take primary health care as missed it, right? They pick it up from the school. The child comes to school, and that way they can start to give that intervention almost immediately. They've identified, they're giving that support that that child needs almost immediately. The last one will be the mobile outreach. You know, she had mentioned, Mr. Kade had mentioned mobile outreach. Even Amaka had mentioned mobile outreach. Well, we know that not everybody can go into the interims. But when we go into the rural area, we tell them there's an open workshop. 3 days, 4 days, we're doing an intervention. We're looking at your child. We're examining, okay, yeah, wrap up, sorry. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
All right, great. I mean, because we actually pressed for time, and if you want to say from what I've got, I mean, what you've said is to look at different agents of socialization in Nigeria. So we look at the homes, we look at the regional centers, we look at the hospitals. Sadly, there are over 30,000 PAs in this country. Less than 30% of them are actually functional. So let's not go there. We'll call that commercial later. Dr. Joy, very quickly, how can we better integrate developmental screening and referral pathways into primary health care and maternal and child health system at scale?
Okay, so she was talking about when they're getting into school, screening them, but I think we can even do it earlier because most times those children may not smile on time or they spoke a few words and then they stop. And that usually happens around age 1 to 18 months. 1 year to 18 months. That's usually the time frame. And so my suggestion, and I'm really excited, and this is something that is easy to sponsor. Those cards can be photocopied, anybody can have access to them. And a simple screening for autism will be part of it. So we have what we call the MChat tool. And it's just 20 questions, anybody can do it. And in fact, what I really, really hope we will be able to push is, and I'm so excited about primary health care, initiative that is already on ground. So what we can do is to now just do a 1 or 2 day training for the healthcare staff at the primary healthcare level. Of course, this will scale to nurses, anybody can have access to this. It can be done in stages, it can be scaled up, and then you train them 1 or 2, you don't need to do much. Now we have Zoom, we have everything. You don't even have to be physically there. You do pre-test, you do post-test, they understand it. And then put it on that card. And so when children come in for immunization from 6 months, you are already beginning to flag. So immunization is birth, 14 months, and the truth is, we have good coverage, at least somewhere like Lagos. When I was coming in, I was Googling it, and I saw we have up to 80% coverage in Lagos. I mean, 80% of the children in Lagos have gotten immunized. So they would have been screened, and you'll be able to pick those that have issues. And this can be done anywhere. So if we're able to just, but we need a lot of will, and I'll tell you the truth. The problem will be at the Ministry of Health, because this thing must come from up there. So we need to push for them to put it in that card, and then ensure that every healthcare worker gets that training. That training should be part of what, this is doable. So that's the first thing. And the second thing we need to now do is, if you screen and you don't help them, it's worse. So you pick them up and they don't know where they are going, which is already happening, because awareness, we've done a lot of awareness for years. So people are looking, They said I need to see a neurologist. They said I need a speech therapist. I can't find anybody. Now we need to task shift. And this is where Amaka comes in. We need to train people to be able to do something at their level, no matter how small. And Amaka is already doing it with me. Some patients who are not in Nigeria, she trains the parents, gives them simple tools, and we are seeing results. I mean, there was one patient we worked with. In a month, the child started talking. It was like magic. The mother is always thanking me every day. And it's not for me that you know. But the truth is, we need to task shift. We can't be top heavy. So what I suggest, because we need solutions, what I suggest is that when the primary healthcare centers pick up these children, there needs to be a pathway to getting them access to care. So we can use telemedicine for this. So we can get geopolitical key centers in the 6 geopolitical zones where they can be referred to, and then let there be a pathway. So if I flag a child, there's a call line, there's somebody tracking this child and ensuring that within a specific time frame, this child gets a specialist. Even if not physically, at least a teleconsult, so that care can start. And let me stop there because of time. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, there's a lot to say, and I think we are actually out of time, honestly. But one thing you have said, which I was actually looking to, is a practical, very practical, easy to do, less expensive, cost-effective way of addressing and detecting this early in time. And then technology has to come to play again, right? Thank you so much. Amaka, I just have 30 seconds. 30 seconds, I must say. I mean, the question is very simple, and I think, how can this delegation be practically implemented at school? Then how can we scale it? And I know you already said that already. Just summarize what you said earlier.
Okay, so I'm going to say we should try to adopt a mindset shift from specialist dependence to teacher empowerment. Okay, because we have schools even in the rural communities, right? So it means we have teachers there. If we begin to train all the teachers in all the communities, or maybe as simple as UDL, Universal Design Learning, then they begin to understand how to provide. And if you train one teacher, you're training several children. You train one parent, you're training a community. So we should move from waiting for specialists that may never come, okay, to the teachers and the parents. Another thing, the last one I need to say is, for schools, we have to learn that we don't necessarily, like Mr. Konde said, have to adopt the Western style. Okay, the Western model, it is expensive. So, but we can have resources. As small as non-verbal cues, teachers learn how to use that. As small as low tech, which is picture exchange communication system, people can have it in their schools. Visual schedules should be in every school. If we start with those minimal resources, then we'll stay with the future.
Thank you so much, Amaka. Thank you. That was okay. So, Mr. Tawadioni, just very briefly, what strategic partnerships or financial models do you financially use in bridging this gap? And very briefly, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. The financial model we can adopt here. One is a supportive model, one for the society. If the government is not interested in this matter, we may not be able to go too far. Government, we must take our matter to the lawmakers. We have to push for government support to get this thing done. Because those that will actually access the cost of this, and really they are not the 1% of those that are affected. Majority, they can't even afford it. When we do that, the private sector support also will also help a lot to bridge the financial gap. Again, the training, when we train those that are directly affected and they're able to do some things on their own, something that a therapist will ask them to pay 500,000 for, and they can do it on their own without paying anything. That also will go a long way in bridging the financial gap.
Thank you so much, sir. I mean, that was quite brief and direct. So again, we cannot leave out the fact that private sector needs to invest in this particular situation. and then also need to ensure that government is willing to put funds behind it. It's sad, government has limited resources, and resources actually, I mean, quite a lot of things that actually have to resources, but again, private sector can come in to bridge the gap in all of it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being part of this panel. We've seen one thing that's clear: the way we show up matters when it comes to the issue of autism, and it's our responsibility collectively to ensure that we find solutions and keep talking about it to ensure that we have a Nigeria that is beautiful, inclusive, and then soaring towards the wealth that we're all expecting that we want to make as a nation. Thanks so much, everyone, and let's have a wonderful.
So thank you very much, everyone, not only for honoring the invitation of the Alternative Bank, but for showing enough care to promote and support in your own way the topical issue that has brought all of us here. Now, this little session is just to enlighten us about how the Alternative Bank connects to all of this. Because we're not just another bank. What we have set out for ourselves as an institution is to be the gold standard in banking. And I think that elements of that showed up in the presentation from Ibi Korede. So let me start from the beginning, I mean, before the presentation comes. Many of us are very familiar with the Alternative. Apart from this occasion, we go into different locations and customers tell us, oh, I have that name somewhere, or I saw the billboard, I saw this, I came up. So the Alternative Bank is officially a 3-year-old bank. But in reality, we have a decade of experience before that, because as Alternative Bank, we had existed within the Sterling Bank structure as a member of the Sterling Financial Group for 10 years as a window because of the specialized nature of banking that we do. I will take the time to explain that specialized nature. So before CBN were able to figure out the policy, the licensing, the procedure of how non-interest banking should work in Nigeria, we are part of that early stage and we started doing non-interest banking in Nigeria as a window within the Standard Bank. So we may be 3 years old, but we have more than a decade experience in doing non-interest banking. So when it comes to non-interest banking, we have got you. And so what do we do? I'll walk you through who we are and what we do. We have talked about it. We have 10 years of operational experience in alternative financing because we were proud of the Sterling Financial Holdings. And that gives us, I mean, people say when they hear non-interest banking, year of giants, charge, we don't know those things. We have been there. So he just spring up 3 years. Okay? We have talked about this, so let's move on. Okay, one of our key focus, our strongest suits is that we are ethical. We exist to deploy value-based capital in the most transformative ways. Look for sectors of the economy where we can be very impactful. So social impact financing, social impact investing, not just CSR, is actually a core part of our DNA. And to drive that, we have a strong governance, right? We have an advisory committee of experts that are very distinguished, very recognized in the industry, and we are backed by a very strong leadership team. Some of those names are familiar. I think I don't need to rehash. But our governance structure is the key element of what makes us tick. Because we go beyond what is right. We do what is ethical. So it's very important for us to not don't do it, but to come correct every time we get to do anything. Okay? As part of the Sterling Financial Info, because I'm saying these are strategic focus segments for alternative bank, but that will not be totally complete. These are also the strategic focus area for the Sterling Financial Code, meaning that beyond us at Alternative Bank, the entire group that we belong to also have a lot of interest in developing these focus areas of the economy. We call it the arts. That's the umbrella code name for our focus areas: health, education, agriculture, renewable energy, transport, real estate, and of course, for partnering with state and larger infrastructure development, focus on manufacturing and then maritime businesses. Okay, and we strongly look at building ecosystem. We're not just looking at the next transaction. We're looking at ecosystem to make whatever we go into sustainable. We build not just transactions, but structures, partners, and the support system that enables whatever we're interested in to be self-sustaining and can go on in perpetuity. So when you listen to Corey say, this is not a conference today. What we're doing here today is not a ticking the box kind of exercise. It is that it fits into our health vision because it fits somewhere. It's something that is very important to us, and that's why we are doing this. So let me move on. In the health sector, as the first one, the things we are focused upon and that we have done, and that policymakers, startup, advocates, and business owners present here and online can take advantage of right away. Need to partner us about, or need to speak to us about, include many of this. We've done health sector transformation schemes by doing developing a drug removing fund where we have a centralized system to help institutions source, procure, and distribute authentic medical supplies. We have NGOs that partner with us. We have medical experts that give opinions on our participation in some schemes so that it is aligning to our ethics and we are able to achieve key outcomes. I think it was the first goodwill message where you said in your message, I think the fact that you said you had the experience of seeing how data shaped decision making, policy, and healthcare system design. Okay? That's also important to us. So we also participate in health sector digitization and insurance, where we help with HMIS, and I think that's very important. Somebody was mentioning about the legislation in the US on the panel, and I know that HIPAA is a very important legislation, and we've had to work with consultants that They have experience with working around IFA provision, and we have sort of internalized that one way or the other because beyond health, any health data is protected. Most people don't realize that. Just handle it anyhow. Because we have to work with professionals, we are aware. We have local legislation like the NDPR to also portray that, to support that, and we have the system capability to source the right professionals, the right experts, collaborate. So whatever project ideas that you have, and deliver something. Of course, we've done it. Infrastructure overhaul, and we can still do the same. We have e-books which are technology-driven skills. This is something that has also been mentioned on the panel that access and infrastructures are expensive, but we can design different kinds of interventions that are easily accessible. So whatever we move on, but beyond this that we have here, we are very open to exchanging ideas and developing bespoke solutions. Right? I particularly like the low-cost solution that was mentioned about something that exists already that we already know. Immunization goes on every year and it's at a very successful rate. We can incorporate other things into that. I really like that kind of solution. Very simple, always there, but we are not, we can improve the potential, right? So we like this kind of solution. When we say financing, sometimes it's just taking a second look at the structures and see what else can we layer here that is coming at no cost and then very focused on it. We do a lot of that when we sit down with organizations, right? Education is also a big deal for us. I've been talking to doctors this morning that definitely we have to find something to do, not just with your organization, but with schools like yours to say, hey, we need to, education is, there's nothing we can do about it. It's an evergreen business. So I'm pressed not to talk about it as a business, given the occasion. But you will permit that my very nature as a banker will mean that, oh, yeah, this is education is education for a lot of people, but it's education and business for me. But the point is that the alternative bank is willing and ready to partner with educational institutions. Perhaps people who are going to be needing patient capital, because from what I've listened to, you probably require the staff to student ratio or the staff to student ratio, right? Yes. That Madam Dotu described. I don't think I've seen it before anywhere. I don't think it exists in public schools. And if we are going to build public institutions that will give the necessary attention to people with on the autism spectrum, that ratio needs to go high. Meaning that if you do not have to raise your fees very high, you need to have capital to support those kind of projects. We are happy to have this kind of conversation. We will have not just debt, but blended capital to support whatever it is that people intend. I think I should wrap up quickly because the next set of things are very business-like for us. But I think between education and health, the core need of this gathering are addressed. But I must take the opportunity to also let us know because we are organizations, individuals interested in alleviating or at least providing sustainable financing for people living with autism, right? But we are also still businesses and have other financial services. So it's important that we take the opportunity. So we are an organization very big on renewable energy. I mean, the evidence is obvious when you see that our group head office at 20 Marina is covered up from beginning to the end. All 17 stories in solar panels. So renewable energy is a focus area for us. And we know that if we can take away your energy cost, even as a health institution, as an educational institution, if we can lower that cost, overall, the cost of servicing and paying attention to people who need those attention becomes cheaper. You are not battling the generator cost, you can save money there, you can hire more caregivers, more teachers, without having to raise school fees. You understand? So it all connects when finance is involved. And that's our biggest input. Point of connection to say, hey, when money matters, we can actually look holistically at everywhere money is coming in and everywhere money is going out, and where can we provide support. We can provide support from energy angle to lower your energy costs. And of course, we can do this in terms of power, in terms of mobility, in terms of special needs vehicles, special kind of, when people have large, we're talking with University College in Ibadan, the doctor from and yes. So something that we've done in Kano, all this took auto rickshaws. There will be something like that to help in the hospital community. It's low cost, it's affordable, and it's long term. So those kind of things, because they are available for a long time, those that cost servicing, they ultimately save money. And the money you save can be put back into actual caregiving. So those opportunities exist. And beyond that, our partnership is not just about lending. We partner through 3 large states. There are more than this, but typically partner on an agent basis, partner to provide capital, while you, the expert, provide the expertise. Call that the Mugara. And then we have the joint venture where we share risk and profits. And that's unlike what you see in most systems. It is how much do you need? I'm going to charge you this. But we have all of these options. And I will end up here because in saving you money, we also have other solutions where you deal with your suppliers and the people that you service. There are ways that we can finance POs at very low cost opportunities so that people who you have to deal with and pay, you can manage your cash flow cycles for you with this kind of finance. Important. We have a specialized focus on managing, because we solve energy level with renewable energy. For people who are still on non-renewable energy, we have a solution to lower their cost through our high fuel solutions. And I'm happy to, we have relationship managers around that are happy to engage every individual businesses here and anybody that is available that wants a solution, that wants us to look at the business and find a solution. We are able to find a workable solution to save you money that you can put to healthier use in the vision of your business. So you don't worry about the money or operational, so we can make the operational cost lower with value-based finance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Harvey. Please, another round of applause for
it's our own way of appreciating you. That we know it's taken a lot of things from you to be able to be here, first of all. And we really want to appreciate your efforts and your pioneering of this, should I say, this field particularly. Thank you very much.
More differences. And this is where the inspiration came. This is where I started to share, the advocacy came. And I knew that I needed to educate other parents to be able to understand that we need to be able to do something also. Because many times when I started this advocacy journey, parents were just waiting endlessly and time was going. At the end of the day, by the time they come back 2, 3 years later, it's already beyond the early intervention stages where a lot of things could have been done. I know many times, we are hoping for, yeah, which is why we're having this conversation today, with the hope that we're going to have, government parastatals, private sectors, will have organizations here and, do something for a difference, for a change. But this oftentimes comes very too late. And while waiting, we miss out on a lot of things. My son is 11 now, still on the autism spectrum, but thriving. And most of, let me say, like 80% or 90% of what he has achieved, or what we have achieved today, are mainly from the things that we did at home. So what I want us to know today is this. We're having this conversation is a great initiative, is a great start. The roundtable discussion, having all of this collaboration is absolutely beautiful. And this is one of the things that I love about autism awareness this year. I'm seeing a lot of contribution from organizations, from people who are not really related to autism, because most of the time we as the parents are the ones doing the advocacy. And just like Mrs. Dotton said, we are the parents, we are also the therapists, and we do so much without the support. So what I want us to do is this: beyond these conversations, let's form a better collaboration, organize parent workshops, because in my years of working as an autism mom coach, I have supported hundreds of moms, helping them move from confusion to clarity, helping them understand that there's so much that they can do without having to wait for therapy centers, without having to wait for specialists. There's so much they can do to empower their children, to help them to thrive. We need to look beyond just having this conversation and bring in real life actions. I want to see more organizations, including children or individuals on the autism spectrum. We're looking at skill development. We are looking at job opportunities that will allow them to thrive in their own unique ways, because we know that they are different and not less. So while this conversation is going on, I hope that from everything that I have said today, I wouldn't like to say much because, obviously I do have a lot to say, but I'm trying to stick to the allocated time. But what I want us to take away is this: when we work together collectively, we are able to address all of these things. We are able to provide the services. We are able to provide the support to families who are struggling. Many families have financial difficulties. Many have.
Okay, so right now we're going to take a paper presentation from Dr. Naimot Abisola Balogun, who is a communications specialist and technical health consultant. Our paper presentation is going to be on financing inclusion as infrastructure, how we're catalyzing private investment, corporate policy, and development partnerships for autism care in Nigeria. So please, a round of applause for Dr. Naimot. She's joining us online. Please, can we have Dr. Naimot on screen?
Oh, I had no idea. I was told I had just 3 minutes.
Hi, Dr. Naimot, we can hear you. We're here to see you. Okay, so while we're waiting for Dr. Naimot to come up on screen, just for our online audience, we see your questions. We're taking note of them, and we'll try as much as possible to take the questions, as many of them as we can, right after the next panel. Okay, so these things happen. So I think Dr. Naimot is having a bit of technical challenges. So we'll move to the next panel on scaling what works and how to unlock sustainable financing and partnerships for autism care delivery. And to moderate that panel would be my co-conqueror, Ayomide Odumi. And joining her, please a round of applause for her. And joining her on that panel will be Dr. Motoke Olubode, who is the founder of the Autism Awareness Foundation. And you're not a doctor? Yes. Oh, don't worry, don't worry. We do these purposes every day. So we are validated. Okay, so we have Mrs. Omotoke Olubode, who is the founder of the Autism Awareness Foundation. We also have Mrs. Emmanuela Loho, who is the program director at Autism and More Therapy Limited. We have Mr. Ogochukwu Osu, who is the head of programs and grants at the Aspire Coronation Foundation. And we have Mr. Habib Lawal, who is the regional business executive for commercial and institutional banking at the Alternative Bank. Please, a round of applause for our panelists and our moderator. Okay, so I know Mr. Ogochukwu was in the room just a while ago, so he will be joining shortly. This panel is going to last for about 20 minutes, so time starts now. And please, if you have questions, just wait till the end of the panel and we'll try to pick as many questions as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. All right, good afternoon again, everyone. One fact that, amongst others, that have been re-emphasized today is that most families that are raising children with autism are on their own. There's no structured support, logistically, financially, emotionally even. But thankfully, another thing that has been said today is that there is a way forward. So what we're talking about today is how we can scale the solutions available and move from working in pockets to solutions that are being scaled. And so I'm going to start my questions from you, Mrs. Omotoke. But before we go on, please let me reemphasize what Godfrey said. We have 20 minutes, and I would like us to address all the questions we have for you so that we can really have this conversation. So let's try to keep our responses to a minute 30 seconds max. Thank you. So I'll start with you, Mrs. Omotoke. From your experience with autism, what autism care and awareness models have proven most effective, and what do you think has enabled that success?
I think I will not want to overflow what most of the panelists have said already. Number one, when we talk about care, there are different areas of care for a child on the spectrum. We are looking at education, we are looking at therapy, and when we say therapy, it's not just one therapy. We're looking at behavioral therapy, we're looking at occupational therapy, we're looking at community, we are looking at psychology, so we're looking at every area of that child, because the goal is to have an holistic child that is developing, not just one part. So all this together makes up different aspects of care for a child. We want that child to be able to independently do things for themselves. We want them to be able to be in the classroom and sit and learn. And to do this, there are a lot of other people that need to come on board to ensure that works. So when we talk about the other aspects of what kind of models have worked, I would say parents. Parents are like one of the first advocates for their kids. Parents have led a lot of intervention, they've led a lot of awareness, a lot of conferences, seminars, workshops, just name it. Parents have been at the forefront of this. Another thing is the community. I think we should look at how we can bring in more community to really come on board with autism. For me as a person, as someone that runs an NGO, we do a couple of work in some of these communities, and I discovered that there are so many communities in there that they still need awareness. They still need, we will say, people already know about autism, but you will be shocked. When you go to some other communities, people are like, what are you saying? So apart from that, we need our religious institutions to also come on board. Let's talk about the church, let's talk about our mosque, let's talk about these things. Most of us, sometimes I just sit down and I feel like, growing up, I never saw a mother with a child with disability in my church. Is it that they do not exist? But I think it's because the way the religious institutions are structured, we don't talk about these things. And then we need to have it. And then the final one that I want to touch on is the joint effort of everybody. The community, the parents, and individuals. Every one of us must be aware, must advocate, and must accept.
So we're back to that word collective. It's a joint responsibility. It's interesting that you even talked about the fact that there's still a gap for awareness as well. So whilst we are, striving to, work on the solutions, we also still need to create more awareness. So let me quickly ask you again my second question, Mrs. Oboteke. What do you think are the key barriers, the barriers you believe you are seeing are preventing these models that you talked about, including the family as caregivers, primary caregivers, from scaling nationally, and how can they be addressed? Because we're talking about scale, right?
I think we have a couple of barriers, and I will start with the government. Like, I think that is the major barrier we have, honestly. NGOs are doing a lot, private sectors are doing a lot, individuals are doing a lot. But the government needs to come to a point where they can harmonize all the effort of private sectors, individuals, parents, community. We need those structures to be in place. Like what Madam Akode said, a lot of people are working alone. A lot of people have built centers, community schools. But when government comes in with a policy, not just policy, but implement those policies and let there be sanction when those policies are not being followed, I feel like we'll move from here to like the topmost because a lot of individuals, NGOs are doing a lot. So we need government. I think the major challenge we have is government involvement. Government not being involved in this sector is really making us not go as far as we will go. I think Dr. Joy has spoken about the professional sector also. We do not have enough manpower where this can work. I work mostly in the schools because I believe that teachers can do a lot more than just coming to the classroom and teach. I have my background in education. So I understood as a teacher myself. I knew nothing. So we need to go back to teachers training. So that when teacher knows these things, they help our children in the school to grow. And before you know it, the final aspect that we need to start working where the challenge is the workforce. What kind of accommodations, what kind of verification, what kind of trainings do we have in the workforce that ensures that when people grow, especially kids or individuals as they grow up, they are able to get jobs and maintain those jobs in the workforce. And the is the funding aspect. It is not cheap at all. Whether it is cognitive, whether it is schooling, it is not cheap.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kamotoke. So I think you mentioned, and it's vital, that government needs to go beyond just giving policies or writing policies to actually not just implementing but enforcing policies. It would make a huge difference. Thank you so much for all my questions. Very quickly, I'll go to you, Mrs. Emanuela. And before I go on, let me appeal to my panelists again to keep your responses under a minute, 30 seconds if possible. Thank you. So my first question to you would be, what practical challenges do service providers face in delivering consistent?
Thank you. As a provider, we serve families daily. So in other words, we meet with families and we meet with children almost every day. And there are so many barriers. One is like Mr. Conde said earlier, the professionalism. It's a bit watered down because not everybody. We have very few professionals in this job. And then in my organization, Autism and More, we invest a lot in in-house training. The one problem we have is after a while, some of them move to go into freelancing, and that is a problem. So half-baked, going out to do a job, providing services they are not well trained for. So that's one other thing. And when they do this, it causes a lot of challenges, even for parents. And I know financially, finance is one barrier because it's not easy. Finance, if you really want to get evidence-based therapy, you need to spend money. And that is one major problem. So these parents sometimes just go to this not well trained therapists to get their support. And at the end, the child still has that recession and all that. That goes into recess and all that. That is one. And also, like she said earlier, she said something about the government. We need to sanitize the body. I mean, there should be policies that regularizes how therapists work. There should be a body for it. Everybody is. You go to different. Yet this group is providing therapy services, and when you ask them some things, they can't. They don't even understand some of the challenges these children go through. So that is one major barrier. Another one is also we've talked about money. The insurance scheme never provides therapy sessions. they provide money for health and all that, being sick and all that. But for therapy sessions, it's never in there. So we would appreciate sufficient to come into this, try and drop something where therapy sessions can be part of the insurance policy for parents, because it's not an easy task. That is one, and also the crippling for the therapists, the cost effect, cost operating for cost is very, very high. Because for us to get the materials for assessment, even the assessment materials, most are imported. And that is one major problem. Getting these materials into the country and being able to use it for these children, and these are the things that cause the high cost of providing the services. Thank you.
Thank you. So one key thing that struck me from what you said is when you mentioned regulating the process. So when you have a regulating body, and I think one of our speakers earlier mentioned something like that too, that we need a regulating body for this. So it's not enough that we're preparing solutions. We need to be sure that there's somebody as an overwatch ensuring that things are being done right. So thank you for sharing that. My second question will go to you as well, Mrs. Emanuela.
Okay.
I'm trying to ensure that we do as much as we can in the time we have. How can partnerships, because you mentioned that we're working in silos, is something a lot of the speakers have said that you also mentioned. So how can partnerships between therapy providers, educators, and funders be best strengthened to improve service reach and sustainability?
Thank you for that question too. For us to need, we need strong partnerships. So let's look at it like a three-legged tape stool. You know, once one leg is faulty, the whole system wobbles. That is what happens. That's the educators, the therapy providers, the educators, and the funders. So for this case, there has to be a sync. We have to work in sync to come together. Like for leg one, it could be the educators and the private, the therapy providers. They work together, creating good curriculums. One major thing most people haven't spoken about is the curriculum in schools. These children are given differentiated tasks in class, but they write the same exams. That is one thing. They write the same exams, which becomes a problem later on. I go on, I'm learning, everybody's learning 1 to 10, and I'm going 1 to 2. And at the end of the day, I'm supposed to write an exam for 1 to 10. So that is one problem. So there has to be a sync working in the IEP planning. It has to go with the educators and the therapy providers, the curriculum, and also the examining body. Coming to our national examining body, the WAEC and everything, they have to make these provisions also for these students that are in inclusive schools. That is one. The second leg is the therapy providers and the funders and the educators. We need funders to go to schools, look at schools that can provide inclusion, especially the public schools. We can create a therapy hub there where they have like, okay, we have 20 students going through such challenge. Now we bring them together, mix with the therapy providers and get like 4 therapy providers to cater for 20 children. It reduces cost, it reduces the cost, and also help these children get to that place they want to get to. That is one. And then the third leg is about the founders, the educators, and the founders. I'm talking about that. Yeah, okay. And sorry. So with all this, they have to do is sponsoring. So with everything, when you bring these 3 legs together, we are not able to have a stool that is standing upright to be able to meet the needs of the children. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So one key thing that you've mentioned, and not just you, a number of people have spoken today, funding. We need money to push the solutions. So that will bring me to you, Mr. Gochuku. My first question to you would be, from a development financing perspective, how can philanthropy and donor funding be better structured to support long-term, and
Okay, so when we talk about funding, first of all, it's very important that the practitioners, both the service people, the learning centers, even the schools, actually understand the process of getting this. As of today, there are practically very few funds focused on autism. So apart from the Simons Foundation Autism Initiative, who probably spent about $200 million in all, mostly on autism research, and like very tiny part of it come to Africa. They just go into like collaborative engagement, not necessarily pure funding. And when you look locally, how you see most funding has gone into autism. They are like in pockets, and they are mostly done by donors, philanthropists, and so on. And the rest are being mostly short-term funded, like project-based, not like funded systems. You know, generally under government there is on the funding. So now, how do you try to change some of this? I mean, most important thing is to actually understand the language of who you're trying to get. You know, there is the trust part, there is the understanding where their focus is. So, for instance, at Aspire Religion Trust Foundation, we have a health portfolio, mostly focused on long-term behavioral diseases and like lifestyle diseases, cancer, and all that. But it also doesn't mean that if there's a good story and a good understanding of for situations like this, there is a critical thing that is called theory of change. So every time you take out money, you want to understand how that money works. Listen, if I depend on what I'm listening to the whole of today, I could go back and tell my guys, you know what, 50% of our money next year is going to autism. But it's not that easy, right? Emotions can take you to some point. Getting people to understand the problem can take you to some point. We also do the technicalities of taking those funding. There are other things that also go with it. So the most one thing for the practitioners to actually understand how do I weave the story and explain why helping these kids can either one just for 20 points say doing this, how do I increase the bottom line of 20? This event is happening because somebody explained how this goes into the story of the bank and how it can help make things work and save for other funders. It's not just enough to say, come and support this material. You also need to be able to find a way to make it align and make sense to them. That's like the critical part in, first of all, walking into the your second
Thank you. You said some things that are important but can be hard to swallow because it can be easy to just say, but you can see the need. Why do we need to package something specially for you? But from a business perspective, we can also understand where that response is coming from. So it's important then for solution providers as well to, in addition to the technical things that they've learned and the solutions they're preferring, to learn the business language and how to reach people that have the pockets that the solution needs. Thank you. So my next question for you would be, what role can catalytic funding play in unlocking additional private sector and institutional investment, specifically in autism care?
Okay, so that's where you, that's the next level. So if you've understood what is going on, you need to also do like a proof, right? And that's where your catalytic funding is. There are a couple of interesting work that have been done by, I think it's Winfield, there's also the UK Foundation. And I think Mixer has sponsored some services support. Now, this kind of sponsorships that happen they should be able to be packaged in a way that it shows the impact, right? So what it means is that it kind of sounds like a pilot. It kind of helps to explain to somebody what can happen or what more can happen if we continue in this path. And you know, if you later talking about solutions, it also helps you when you're trying to fund this spectrum. Because for this kind of intervention, you need to fund a spectrum. You need to fund 1, 2, 3. So you can't jump. Because every time you jump, it comes back worse. I heard someone mention something about people not getting proper care, and then there's like a relapse. So it happens also with funding. Because if I had given you $10,000, for instance, to do screening, and you didn't screen properly, you screened wrongly, then we're now in a stage where you say, I'm going to care. And then you're asking me for another $25,000 for care. Now we say, okay, here's the money for the care. Who are the people to care for? And then you come back and say, oh, you know what, we made a mistake. You know, the screening didn't work. We will end the project there, we stop there. You know? So it's very important that in this, for all into engagement. So, for instance, when an autistic man is saying, we want to go out, we want to put this as part of immunization. Let's do it properly. Let's put a pilot out. You're not able to attract more people who are saying, oh, it's more. I want to take it to Kano, I want to take it to Port Harcourt,
Thank you so much. Honestly, I don't want to recap that because I think it was very well said, and I'm just going to move to Mr. Habib. Okay, so maybe I should recap something you said. So the key part of what I got from what you said is that documentation is key. If we're doing these things, solution providers need to document. So it's easier to say, with the little that we have here, we've done X, Y, Z here. So with funding from you, we can do this much more. So thank you, Mr. Okoji. I would ask Mr. Habib my next question. Mr. Habib, what do you think the role of financial institutions would be in developing sustainable financial solutions for autism care and for inclusive services?
All right. Thank you for that question. I'll take us back issue. It's not just finance, it's structural issues. So structural issues need policy, right? And whilst we are not policy makers, we are actually system enablers. And I think that's where our roles come in. I call it roles because there are a number of things that we can do as that financial institutions can do, not just banks, financial institutions. I'm putting all of us together. So the first part is to provide funding, provide financing solutions, right? Not just funding, financing solutions. I had to correct that. Financing solutions that it may be in terms of credit facilities, in terms of designing savings, long-term savings solutions, in terms of blended capital, or in terms of ethical fund, ethical finance that comes in form of endowment, people at a different life stage that wants to do self-actualization investments. We have things that like on the ethical side, we have things like WACF, or some people call it WACF. People do endowment and they are tied to health organizations. Banks can actually facilitate such, right? We can also play other roles, right? We are risk sharers, meaning that we can bring on partners. DFIs, for instance, I think they like talking to banks. I mean, whatever structure they need to put together, they need practitioners to put together. We understand that language, and we can prepare the investment deck that is talking about that. The need is there, but it needs to be presented in a certain manner in order to attract those funding. We can make those available, right? When the right, when those who are in need work with the bank, we understand that language and say, hey, this is how to present this to attract those funding. We can attract those fundings because we know that, and then beyond that, at individual level, caregivers need support. And the sheer stress of what they go through is an economic risk, right? And so we're able to provide personal financial support at affordable levels.
Thank you. So you mentioned blended finance. So I will ask one more question on that.
Okay.
How do you believe that innovative financial instruments, blended finance, social impact funding, can be leveraged to scale autism to scale autism care delivery?
Okay. So, because finance comes in multiple layers, so it's important to separate them. And the blended finance you're talking about only works when other kind of capital are deployed appropriately. I know that it has been said by many parties in various forms that we need government support, that we need to shift from
donor funding. So that's why I'm going to come in. I think that needs to be in place first. Public and donor funding in place to de-risk things like early diagnosis, caregiver training. If that is in place, you can move to the second level where commercial funding from financial institutions can come in because we now see a bankable model, so to speak. It still ties into what he said. Banks need to see a bankable transaction, but that will rest on the existence of the first layer. So the first layer is government funding and donor funding to de-risk the system and say, hey, out of care, we need to do this. So we are putting our money where our mouth is. But that helps you build a financeable model that banks can come in and say, okay, I've seen what you see. I can see your cash flow cycle. I can see the impact you are delivering. Then I can fund this way. The last part is now the social impact funding because to hold everybody accountable, social impact funding often ties financing to outcomes, right? Outcomes like how successful were your early diagnosis or screening, like he also mentioned, or how many caregivers are retained on the job. They are not stressed out, they are not demotivated, or they are not attracted by easy profit, like she mentioned that even before they are mature in their training. So those three levels come in, and that's how blended capital works. One rests on the other, right? You can be talking in terms of commercial funding. A bank like Alternative Bank can say, hey, we want to do debt, we want to do equity, or we can find a ratio that works between debt and equity. But it rests on being able to provide a financeable model. And then we can also all rely on availability of social capital that are tied to predictable outcomes.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Habib. So what I will do quickly is I will go around and ask if in 30 seconds, if there's any last thing. If we don't remember anything else that you've shared, one thing you'd want us to remember to drive change. So I'll start with Mr. Ogochukwu this time.
So I think one critical thing you should have in mind in terms of trying to fund this is start from pilot, go to scale, choose some kind of pooled funding, not just one person. Try to do like some collaborate because, for instance, if you're getting a philanthropy to work with an alternative bank, for instance, everybody contributes something. It's easier for the fund to stay longer. And then critically as well, educate the people who are going to drive this thing. Education, both from selling autism, because you have to sell it at some point, and also the people who educate those people. That's very, very critical. And then, of course, documentation. So it goes a long way in actually creating a funding pathway that will last. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So I will ask Mrs. Emanuela next.
Okay, thank you. One thing I just want us to go back with is the collaborative model. Everybody working in sync, working together as one for the betterment of the people, the individuals or children in the spectrum. The funders, the educators, the parents, the therapy providers, all working in sync and coming, that is bringing something to the table and being able to work it out. Like my catchphrase is always put yourself in the child's shoes and you get the best of the child. So if we can put ourselves in the individual's shoes, we'll be able to get the best of those people. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Habib.
Okay. All things considered, for me, I would just like for all of us to remember the importance of early diagnosis, right? Across many species today, it looks like it's critical. And having weighed all that I've had today, I think it also has the most social and economic return. Do you understand? So if we can focus on that, and luckily for us, we've also been blessed with an idea of how to make it, how to do it in an affordable manner. And I think that that's something we can all seek to action as we live here today.
Thank you very much, and I agree with you. So, Mrs. Omotike.
I think on a final note, I would say that as we wrap up this dialogue and this conversation, we all should go out with these three models. I think I love it. I love it for awareness, advocacy, and acceptance. We should always continue to share awareness about autism. We should always continue to advocate for individuals with autism. And then we should also accept, because acceptance helps us to create workplace, education, healthcare system that are ensuring that they are providing the right support, the right service, the right healthcare system that every individual on the spectrum needs to thrive.
Thank you. I love how short that was as well. Thank you so much. So in conclusion, I will just say one of our earlier speakers mentioned that how we show up, I know I said it earlier, is a reflection of our collective humanity. So leaving this conversation, let's remember to show up with action, and eventually show up at scale through collective work. Thank you.
So another round of applause to them. Please, can we have the Chief Marketing Officer of the Alternative Bank join them for pictures? We have talked about financing, and now we're going to talk about policy, right? How many of us are excited about it? Because policy is where it's what ties all of these things that we're spoken about, whether it comes to financing or solutions. Policy ties everything together and ensures that we institutionalize whatever we're talking about. So to have a policy conversation, I'd like to welcome Dr. Anne Adaogo, who is the Director of Policy at the Private Sector Health Alliance Nigeria, and Nancy Omabala, who is an educator, special needs therapist, and inclusive education training expert. Please, can we put our hands together for them?
And good afternoon, everyone. It's been a long, long, long day, and so we're going to get the five chat started. Hopefully, we'll be done in 5 minutes or less, because we're just there to tie things up. Everybody who sat down here today, they said everything they need to say, and I don't think there's anything that any part of this conversation that needs to happen here today that hasn't already happened. So our job, I think, is immediate. Yes, it is. Just trying it all up together. So for us, all of the policies we talked about today and everything we talked about today is rhetoric if we cannot describe in absolute terms how we're going to put it to practice. The challenge with us in Nigeria, like I normally would say for every conversation, is not because we do not have policies. It's because we have every policy that the world has. We have all of the global policies. We have most of them domesticated. We have most of them sitting on shelves that have very low awareness and very little implementation. And so the frustration for me is the fact that we have policies that can improve the life of every Nigerian who lives with autism. The question is, how aware are we about the policies that exist? So by show of hands in the room, can I see people who know anything about the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Act of 2018? Show of hands. I think there are like 120 people in this room. I see 3 hands, I see 4. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you about the details of the policy. And so, and then we have another policy on the National Policy on Inclusive Education. That's for 2017. So I don't know how aware we are about this policy and what the elements are around what opportunities it brings to us as a country. I'll turn right back to you. So what do you see as regulatory gaps in your everyday life working with the children?
So I'm a special educator working with children who have special needs in the school setting. And like you rightly said, inclusion is good on paper, just like the previous speaker said. Okay, we already have policies talking about having conducive environments for children with special needs in the school setting. We have policies talking about even flexible curriculums in the school setting. But now, and also with the awareness and everything, and advocates talking about inclusion and everything, schools have opened their doors. Some schools have, okay? But how is inclusion being practiced? We see that the doors are open, but children living with autism go into schools, into classrooms where teachers don't even understand them, don't even understand what to do with them. And this is because teachers have not been trained. And in my line of work, I also do trainings for teachers. And I noticed that even training is not enough. Because if you train teachers and the structures are not in place, when they face the struggles of translating what they have learned in these trainings into the realities of their everyday classrooms, they fail. And before you know it, you've gone back to status quo. So even beyond the policies, there are gaps with implementation and monitoring. Yes, there are schools, or some schools, that have opened the doors to children living with autism and other special needs. But when it comes to implementations, in terms of flexible curriculums, just like the policies and the Discrimination Act has stated, just when we talk about having flexible assessments, when we talk about accommodations for this for the children, sensory-friendly environments, okay, having conducive environments for these children, we don't see them in the school setting. So I've been to schools where children living with autism and other special needs are kept at the corner of the class from 8 a.m. in the morning till 2 p.m. in the afternoon. No services, nothing. And then they stay there day after day. At the end of the term, they go to school to the next term. At the end of the session, they are being moved to the other classroom with little or no educational value. And I've seen classrooms with children that are 19 years old, 20 years old, 21 years old in a primary 3 class. And nobody is saying anything, nobody is monitoring, nobody is regulating. So this structure is not in place, and that's the major gap that we have in the educational system right now.
So I hear you talk about structural gaps, I hear you talk about regulatory gaps, I also hear you talk about capacity gaps. So I'll put them in 3 boxes. There's a structural part. You haven't mentioned something that everyone has talked about today, and I'm glad for that, financing. I'm really glad we're not talking money. We're talking structural, we're talking regulatory, and then we're talking capacity. So in them 3 capacities, I see a strong opportunity here for UBED and the SUBED. So what do you think? 2 things or 3 things? Because when we put a lot of things in the basket, it becomes a potpourri and it's hard for people to internalize. What do you see as a role, practical? What can we quickly do? SUBED, UBED, who else should be involved? Who else should be sitting in this room? Who else should be sitting at the table in terms of regulation and making sure that the capacity exists and that we're able to monitor exactly what's happening?
So the first thing we should do, I think the governing bodies, the regulatory bodies, the first thing, in my opinion, that we should start with, we should set the minimum standards when it comes to a school being inclusive. For a school to be inclusive, for example, we give standards like we should have IEPs for the children, okay? We give standards like we should have flexible teaching, flexible assessments for these children. We give standards like we should have facilitators and specialists working with those children in the school setting. So after giving these standards, we go on to licensing. Okay, so we should attach licensing to inclusive education. It means that, for example, school, I believe we have some school owners here. Before schools get approved, what happens? Government officials go into those schools. They check the sick bay, they check the classroom, they check if the school has labs, they check the toilets, they check, one or two things about the school before giving approval. So if we include inclusive education into that approval process, it will make a lot of schools to sit up. Remember, we already have our minimum standards, right? When it comes to inclusive education. Now attach it to licensing. You will find out that many schools will sit up and provide those services properly. And then we can now have corrective mandates. We can take away licensing when those schools actually default. And also to ease things out, because truthfully, like as mentioned by all the previous speakers, inclusive education is not easy. It's not something that's it's expensive. It's not easy to manage and provide all of those resources. So what do? The government can give grants. Okay, we can make grants affordable. We can even create tax relief for schools that offer inclusive education. You can immediately see how school owners will buy into that particular initiative when all of this is afforded. They can even have recognition. So remember, we've done the minimum standards of how inclusive education should be done. We have licensed the schools. We have given them funding, tax relief, recognition, and then monitoring has to come in. And this monitoring is not just done by anybody. You can't just walk in and say, oh, you have a sensory room, you have facilitators. But we need professionals, experts that know how inclusion works, to go into the classroom and see if these schools are actually practicing inclusion as they are supposed to. We should also have grievance mechanisms. Parents should be able to say, in this school, my children are being excluded. They are not practicing inclusion. And then we can swoop in and say, oh, they have given the standards, we have licensed you, we have tried by giving funding and the rest, and so what is the matter? We can see how we can help these schools, or how we can, do some other things to ensure that the inclusion is properly and adequately practiced in the school setting.
So I'm leaving here now with 4 boxes. There's the box, there's the capacity gap box, there's the infrastructure gap, there's the regulatory gap, and then there's the financial gap. Sitting here in this room are key decision makers from Alternative Bank, from the private sector, from the education sector, from all of healthcare institutions. What would you say for all of these people that I have mentioned? 4 distinct roles where if you met the MD of Alternative Bank in the elevator and you had 1 minute to make a pitch as to making a difference in the lives of children and families who view the world differently, what would you say in 1 minute?
So in 1 minute, I would appeal that we move inclusive education from the idea phase or the recommendation phase that we are in presently to a phase where we can actually implement.
How?
Okay. By, like I've mentioned earlier, by ensuring that schools that are inclusive are supported, by ensuring that the regulatory bodies are actually doing what they're supposed to do in monitoring what inclusive schools are doing. And also in terms of funding these schools to ensure that inclusive, the structures for inclusion are properly put in place.
So the MD then told you in the elevator, I have $100 million to invest, and I have 3 things I want to do that I can turn around in 1 year. No long-term plans, no projects that we cannot be able to account for. I want to spend $100 million in 12 months, and I need to demonstrate tangible impact. What direction would you ask the MD to run in?
Okay, I would advise the MD to have a pilot first. Okay?
Pilot
in a school. Okay? So if we have 100 million naira.
No, we have 100 million US dollars.
Okay, 100 million US dollars. So that's a big one. So the first thing we will do is to have a number of schools where we can have proper inclusion structures in place, and we will pilot those.
Just have 1 minute to explain to.
Yes.
Okay. 1 minute.
So yes. So with awareness and having.
And I'm going to come back to the audience. We have $100 million we want to invest on this autism thing because we want to gather here next year and show the difference that we have made. I'd like 2 people to give me a business pitch. Tell me how that money will be invested in a way and manner that will make a difference in 1 year. 1 minute pitch.
So what I will do for $100 million, okay, is to, first of all, have a school where we have children with special needs in those schools. And in the school, we will start with early identification, okay, where we have the screenings for children with special needs. And after they have been identified, we'll put some certain structures in place in terms of having facilitators come in terms of the curriculum structure, in terms of having certain structures like having a sensory room, a sensory
money in schools to improve inclusive learning.
Yes.
How else are we spending $100 million?
We're also ensuring that the processes are properly monitored.
Monitoring and evaluation. Yes. How else are we spending the $100 million? Because you barely spent $10 million. Barely.
Okay, so after all of that, then we can now expand to including other schools to this initiative.
You have 1 year to spend the money on this.
That's what I was about.
Okay, does anyone, in addition to what she has said, does anyone else have, I'd like to see anyone from the family who actually has a child with autism. Yes, you do. Okay, please, could you take the mic?
I have an 8-year-old who's on the autism spectrum.
We have 30 seconds here. And we're heading to the 30th floor.
Okay, I have an 8-year-old who is on the autism spectrum. And one of the biggest issues that we have had is getting proper diagnosis.
So
and
what would you like me to do with the 100 million?
I would like you to give trainings, enough trainings to people on the health sector. And one of the biggest training I think nobody has mentioned is emotional intelligence. When you are working with people that need a lot of empathy and you don't have emotional intelligence among health workers and teachers, you have people who know what they are
doing. Well, the 20th floor, I hear you. How else? You only spend $5 million.
Then set up autism centers.
Where?
Centers around different parts of the country.
Okay, what will we be doing at those autism centers?
You'll be giving trainings to parents. You'll be supporting children and even adults who have autism. There are adults that live well into their adulthood without ever realizing that they have autism. So what if there's a place that adults can walk into and say, I feel weird?
Now we're on the 24th floor, we're heading to the 30th floor, we only spent $15 million.
And I feel that the more adults realize...
What else are we doing with the balance of $85 million?
We are setting up places that allow these people to have opportunities to work, to be productive,
so
and earn a living.
Okay, so we're training people who have autism.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So you spent only $25 million. I have $100 million to spend.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Kylie Jaslandi Mango. So I'm supporting what she's saying. So with the $100 million, I think we need to establish an autism hub all over the country, in every community, every local government. Now, that autism hub is going to collaborate with every expert that can work with people with autism. It's going to handle awareness as well to schools, to communities, not just working only with experts. It's going to provide free services to anyone who wants to do that.
Set up our autism hub. we've only spent $50 million.
That's still a lot of money.
So I still have $50 million.
It's a continuous program, so you're going to be funding.
You have money here to spend my $100 million. Or take it back. Yes.
Therapy is very expensive, man.
Okay, so what?
Very expensive.
I don't hear anybody talk about health insurance here.
So this autism hub is supposed to provide awareness, it's supposed to provide training, it's supposed to provide collaboration, and then for the children on the spectrum, it's supposed to provide a future for them. I have about 4 groups that are discussing the future of our children right now. All of them saying about the same thing. What will happen when we are gone? This hub is supposed to have all of this put together. It's going to be a super hub.
All right.
Thank you so much. So basically, what would I do with $100 million? A lot. We currently already have a vocational center. I'm a parent. I have 2 children on the spectrum, 2 boys. So our concern, just as everyone has said, is what happens.
You want to set up a vocational center?
A vocational center.
We
already have a vocational center.
We're heading to the third.
We are already producing.
So you have so you want funding for your vocational center?
Mm-hmm. We want to expand the vocational center. We have already worked with the Federal Ministry of Labour. We have a certificate. They have already partnered with us. If any of our children in our vocational center finish now and they are able to show proficiency in a particular field, they can have that certificate. In fact, that's our mission. We want a certificate across around Africa. Now, what do we want to do with the $100 million? We want to have, our mission has always been to have a higher institution like the Polytechnic for just people on the spectrum. Now, in this Polytechnic, I love what Mrs. Akode did. That was where I got this idea from. In the Polytechnic, we have little factories. They produce. Just now as I was sitting, I was called that one of our children has already produced the slippers. We've been teaching him 2 years to produce shoes, and they sold it immediately. So we're not doing charity. We are investing in their future. We are investing in this labor force, so they will not be dependent on the society.
Thank you, Wilson. 30th floor.
Oh, 30th floor.
So the elevator at this point.
So educational center and mini factories. Yes.
Therapy, and then there's more of a workforce to support the people that we have. We don't have that here at the moment. So outside of working with universities, I would then move on to we've trained them, fantastic. Now we need to find places for people to work. So also I would reinvest the money into workforces such as the banks to employ those that do have vocational skills. Give them an incentive as to why they want to employ them. So I would give them money for them to be able to pay for the work that they're receiving. So it will come as a subsidy.
Okay.
And that's a lot of money.
So the institution is not just a place, it's a whole region access, so it's like they have to have or see people that are like them, make them believe that, oh yes, this is me, this is who I am, build themselves, then employ caregivers that quite understand them, making it easy for each and every one of them to be able to relate with each other.
Yeah, so I get up at the 30th floor, so
yes.
setting up the institutions.
So yes, apart from that, then you take them to see the outside world, let them get hands-on experience about things. So we might have to really reach out to organizations and tell them that we want these people to be treated like your staffs. So when they are out there, they don't feel intimidated, they don't feel tired, and thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, everyone. So we're moving from policy dialogue to action because we're hoping that in another 1 year, we will be sitting here and we will be presenting a scorecard of some sort that will show how we have moved the needle from where we are now to maybe not where we want to be, but definitely away from where we are now in a more positive direction. So I want to thank everyone for your participation at this fireside chat. Thank you and have a good afternoon. Thank you.
Final Google message. We have 2 questions that I'm going to direct to Ms. Namaka. So the first question from someone online, the person said, my son's speech is retrogressing, what do I do? And the second question is more of a recommendation. So the person said, health caregivers, especially even medical doctors, are rude and abusive to autistic children. Are there hospitals that you can recommend that are more like fairly?
They are short stories, okay, listening comprehension stories
that parents can also create themselves. So, and how do you do that? You write a very short story and just keep deleting words until you have very, very minimal instruction. So she can start with that. And then she can also register for the training and learn more. Okay, then talking about the hospital, I think if you know what you're looking for, you will try as much as possible to understand that everyone is different and look for the solutions and don't focus so much on how people react when they see your child. Like Mrs. Akonde said, you become, maybe I would like to say, choose selective deafness, okay? Look for what you want, pick that, and then ignore the rest. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Please excuse my just excuse me from the non-official leaders of official meetings in meetings of this, not because of disregard, but because of lack of technical know-how. So I stand on existing protocol. So my name is Amoyo Pablo. I'm the country director for Best Bodies Nigeria. We are created the Best Bodies International. And first of all, I want to say a big thank you to your Chinese bank. Because of meetings like this, I came into Best Bodies during my MBA experience, and it was a meeting like this. I first got, okay, it was a meeting like this, I first got in contact with social impact. I was from the banking and consulting world, when Best Bodies recruited me, took me to Uganda to establish Best Bodies, then I came back to Nigeria to establish Best Bodies in Nigeria. So I think big thank you, because these conversations are critical and they are needed to use their time. So let's say in brief about Best Bodies. Best Bodies Nigeria, or Best Bodies as a whole, is founded upon 5 programs, 5 pillars. Pillar number 1 is the one-to-one friendship. And the goal of the one-to-one friendship is to establish and strengthen the dignity of humanity by creating one-to-one connections. So what we do in schools is we get schools, or what we call citizens programs, so we get people living with and without disability. We pair them as peer mentors and they begin to interact. You interact with your body because that's what Best Bodies that we are going for. So somebody living with and somebody living without disability, you just have certain principles to follow. One, you have the interaction with the person at least once a week, and you visit twice in a month. That's also twice in a month, or once in a week you visit. And your visits, for example, can be through social media, video visits, that's what we want to do. One vision, and the goal is to strengthen human dignity by direct interactions. Second program we have in Best Bodies is the leadership program. And the leadership program is a program where we empower people living with disability to be advocates, their own self-advocates. I remember we held a program in the US, it was beautiful girl, Down syndrome. Yes, and it was in partnership with Best Bodies, and it was a successful program. So the goal is to, beyond people living without disability being champions or advocates, we want people living with disabilities to be champions, to champion the cause of inclusion. It is very, very important. That's the leadership program. On that critical one, currently in Nigeria, we are running those 2 programs. We attempted the 3rd program, which is the employment program. The goal of the employment program is to provide economic independence for people living with disabilities. So what we did, we worked because Amaka of Yakin is our country program officer. So what we did was we partnered to create a system of employment for people living with disabilities. We wrote letter to all the banks, all of them turned us down. So we are hoping that the alternative bank will provide the platform. And what we did, it was interesting. We reached out to the corporate organizations, told them to give us a job description. Give us a job description. Then got what we call a job coach. A job coach to work with the person with disability for 3 months outside, just training them on that specific job role. Then, then 3 months on site. The reason why the person will still remain with the person is that you on-site is to make it create a comfortable environment for those who live without and with. And it was successful because we got people to work in studios, we got them to work in schools, and it was a very successful program. As a matter of fact, research has shown that people living with disability get to be more, you have better staff with them in the long run because their attention, they have shorter, more focused attention span compared to people living without. So you have better staff if you focus on the point. And that last program we do is there's a program that was successfully implemented in the US and in Mexico. It's called the inclusive living. We create an apartment or an estate for people living with and without disability. Now, there's something that I'm passionate about. Many of the programs I see in Nigeria lack. In best bodies, we believe inclusion, it starts with inclusion, and must end with belonging. Belonging, which is integration back into society. I see many organizations with a perpetual money-making franchises were open because there's no plan to integrate people living with disability back into society. Whatever you are doing that does not include that, you are basically creating it's called the human being. When people come on their birthdays, on festive period, you see them and give you money because the money goes into your purse. So the emphasis was if you are going to do inclusion, it must include integration back into society. And that's why we started building estates. We did a lot of cars in Mexico, it was fully implemented. We got buildings and people began to live in those apartments. And the final one is family support. 2 years ago, we developed an idea called My Box. My Box was a key box, and in that box we had about 28 items that 28 communicative and sensory tools for people living with disability, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, and autism. Those items are expensive in the market. So what we did was we found local vendors to recreate those items and put it in the box. The goal was for individuals to have pay for one so that we would deliver to people in the north. We had some sent to Sokoto, we had some sent to Kaduna, we had some sent to Maiduguri. What the traction for corporate organizations was low, but this starts on that platform which we are open for cooperation with alternative partners. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Okoluwa Lunge, the Executive Director for Best Bodies Nigeria. Very quickly, we'll move on to remarks. Quick remarks from Mr. Adedeji Salako. He's the Group Head, Corporate Services and Total Rewards for Sterling Touch, which is one of the impact arms of the Sterling Holdco.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I think we all deserve a round of applause. And I also want us to appreciate everybody that has been a part of this program. I think we had a very important conversation today. I've been around and I've listened to a lot of people on the panel, and I mean it's just eye-opening and very educative. Thank you, everyone. I'm here to talk about how we drive impact. First, let me say that the Alternative Bank is a member of the Sterling Group, as a Sterling Financial Holdings Company. So you have the Alternative Bank, you have Sterling Bank, you have so many other entities. One of the ways we drive impact in our community is through our employee resource group. We have quite a few of them. We have Sterling Touch, we have Sterling Embrace, we have Sterling Jet, and all of that. If I go back to the topic of today, it is how you show up. The way I interpret that topic is that showing up goes beyond just spoken words, right? And a lot of time we make promises, we say things that are nice to hear, but we never follow it up with actions, right? That's what I think is missing in everything that we do. So briefly, I will talk about what we have done or what Sterling Touch is about. Firstly, Sterling Touch is how we impact beyond our workplace, in our communities, in our schools, in our environment, or in all public spaces that are underserved. For instance, how many of us like going to the beach? Just one person. Okay. Tomorrow in collaboration with the One Foundation, we'll be going to the beach, and we're not going there to have fun, although we're going to have fun one way or the other. But we are going there to clean up the beach. Most people go there, they have fun, they throw all sorts of things into the ocean, plastics and all of that. So we're going there to do a cleanup. This is one of the activities that we do to impact the community. Next month, we're going to the schools. We're going to be providing mentorship to children, including children living with disability. And because we understand that these are people who need us the most, and that's one way that we give back to our society. I thought you would, clap for me. All right. The other one is Staying Embrace, right? It's our disability inclusion program. Through Staying Embrace, we have colleagues right in this room that are people living with disability. They are my colleagues, right? And one important thing that I would also like to share is that we don't see our interaction with these colleagues as charity. When people deal with people with disability, we come from the angle of, oh, we are just helping them. No, I think the right way to look at it is from the point of value. They are bringing value to the table, and that is why they are here. They are not here because of CSR. They are here because they deserve a seat on the table. They are, I remember we've had some interns, there was one of them that was an autistic talent. And then in my interaction with this person, very fine guy, I realized that he's extremely brilliant, right? And you need to create an environment where people like this can express themselves. Somebody on the panel was speaking the other time. I was saying that, oh, we want a situation where you know autistic candidates can have a place to work and earn a living. But the question is that how many organizations today have created an enabling environment for these people? So it's one thing for you to say you want to employ people living with disability of any form. Are you actually ready for it? Are you actually preparing your workplace to accommodate them? These are the things that we do at Sterling Embrace. In rounding up, I think where this why these conversations that we have had today is very important is because there's an intersection, between you know, showing up and backing it up with actions. Like I said earlier, we make promises, we say things that make us look good. We want to be visible, we want to be seen, to be supporting, good causes like this, right? But we don't back our words with actions. So if I ask all of us here, what are you going to do differently from today, right? If you live here, beyond everything that we have spoken about today, what is that one action that you will do personally? And you will realize that by the time you aggregate all our actions, there's no way we will not make impact. And I would like to leave us with that today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, DDG. So to wrap up, we're going to start our thank yous with just an award presentation to our speakers. And I'd like to invite the CM of the Alternative Bank on stage, as well as the head of CSI for the Alternative Bank. Please a round of applause for them. Okay, so in no particular order, we'll be welcoming Mrs. Namaka on stage for her award. Up next, we have Nancy Omabala. Next, we have Mr. Elua Logi from Best College, Nigeria. Okay, and we have Dr. Joy Ngozi. Next, we have Mr. Gabriel, Mr. Kayode Gabriel Oni. Next, we have Mrs. Emanuela Eloho. Up next, we have Dr. Anne Adaoko. Next, we have Mrs. Omotoke Oluwudi. So, Mrs. Omotoke Okay, and next we have Mr. Habib Lawal. Okay, and now we move to our partners without whom this event would not be possible, and we will start with the Private Sector Health Alliance of Nigeria. Can we once again have Dr. Al on stage and Mr. Muiwa?
So I just want to
Okay, can we have the entire patient team here on stage? Okay, awesome. Please, a round of applause for the patient team. Thank you for the amazing work.
One more person should come to the side.
Okay, can we have the team from Eliakim Global Resources? Eliakim. Please, a round of applause for the team from Eliakim. And finally, the team from Sterling One Foundation. Thank you so much. Please, one more round of applause for all our speakers. Right, now we're at the end of it all, and I would like to welcome Mr. Solomon Okonkwo, who is the head of corporate social investment at the Alternative Bank, to give us a vote of thanks. Please, a round of applause for Mr. Solomon.
Thank you. On behalf of my executive, the board of management of the Alternative Bank, let's say a very big thank you to all of you. I'll start with our partners, Pisha. I want to appreciate it one more time, please. Let's appreciate Pisha one more time. Doctor is looking at me because I'm trying to appease the gods here. Thank you so much. I also want to say a very big thank you to Eliakim. She has been wonderful. She has been wonderful. Let's appreciate Eliakim. We're partnering with her, global resources, on the training and the capacity building for caregivers, families, and communities as well. And guest bodies, let's appreciate guest bodies as well. Thank you so much. I want to appreciate Sterling One Foundation. All the media we have here, I'm just Sterling One Foundation. I would have said that one of my feet is still there, but no. And last but not the least, I would like to appreciate Sterling Touch family, Maria, so the rest of the Sterling Touch family, and also as a partner, a silent partner in all this, the local foundation. Let's appreciate the local foundation, the CEO I just said right now, and the Nigerian Medical Women Association of Nigeria. Yes, let's appreciate it one more time. Thank you. We have those from the Ministry of Health, from online with us, and we also have those from the Ministry of Education. In an amazing time, it's been something that will not end here. I don't know, all our speakers, please. One of our speakers from Dr. Monteke to Nancy Mopala. How would I say? I know you got tired of seeing in your inbox. Go to the night, right? It's been an amazing 2 weeks for putting these things together. And before I say that, I want to say a very big thank you to everyone. The African Enough Initiative, our partners and sisters from Sterling Bank, Special Foundation, our partner in Hallmark, Continental Hallmark Insurance, our partners, we also have partners from MTN Foundation. Let's appreciate them. I don't want to leave everybody in the room, right? MTN Foundation. I have Special Foundation. They are very big on inclusion. Let's appreciate that Special Foundation. Maternal Health. Yes, they're also very big on the moms. We won't talk about that here. All the way from Abuja, we got our invite and they sent a full delegation to Lagos in South Africa. Let's appreciate them one more time. Dr. Alex, the CEO of African Development Initiative. And our Dr. Joy that left the panel this morning to be with us. Let's appreciate our water. We have so everybody, thank you so much. I don't want to keep us here for long. A lot of this was an impromptu gathering, and I want to say thank you so much for everybody that made it possible and took our time to be here. We had good news, we had messages coming in from the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education in Lagos, and the Honorable from also from the legislative partners, the House Committee on Health. Thank you everyone, thank you. And last but not the least, have I left anyone that I didn't mention here? Forgive me. Forgive me. And last but not the least, the vaccine that made it possible. And whenever you have stand up, have a creative team. I've created with my team, my creative teams, that's all this creative ready, my event team, and my PR team. All of them are the back, they're making everything possible. And my boss, the Chief Marketing Officer of the bank, let's give a round of applause, Maurice Iglugo as well. Thank you so much. And this conversation will not end there. We're not having a talk shop. The India have said it, people have said it there. We're going to start by Sunday. So there'll be a code out right now. And that will be benefit of those in this room and those online. The Alternative Bank will be supporting 10 persons that attended this training, this convening, to be part of that training free of charge. It's a paid training. And you're going to have a UK certification. What do you have for us now? Not like that. I'm working with the top. I will not stop there. I'm going to have an intervention. We're partnering with some partners in the room to drive some interventions. And we'll make sure that that big house, we have your emails, we want to see the policy brief from us, we want to keep the community out from us, and we'll have different conversations going on from now till we gather by God's grace next year. Thank you, all of you. I'm so happy to see you. I look forward to having more interaction and partnerships with you. And to my partners online, Emma Zeda, the best boys, the autism mom, Patsy, before they fight me again, and also Dr. Naima. Thank you so much. I wish you all safe travels back to our various destinations. And please think about the alternative. We are the alternative to everything you can think of. Thank you.
And thank you one more time. That's it from us. And we have, for those of us that haven't gotten any meal packs, we have meal packs outside, so you can just grab one on your way out. So once again, thank you so much for joining us and for staying with us till the end. We really appreciate your time and keep showing up. Thank you.